Whew. Welcome to a very late edition of the Sci-Fi Center live on the Poindexter Noun, live in the middle of Las Vegas during my very open Sci-Fi Center. Today is our post-Comic-Con stream, but I want to make this a usual thing because I am a night owl. Saturday nights are my nights. I'm usually doing something geek associated anyway. So this is kind of cool to be able to do this. Don't know how long it's going to last, but like I said, this will not be the last late night Saturday night stream. If I can find people to watch, I'll definitely continue to do it. So we had day 2 of Comic-Con, which is the Hall H panels, starting with DC at 10 a.m. and then 5 p.m. you had Marvel. So we're going to go over those. Some of the things I thought went well. Some of the things I thought could have been a lot better. One of those particular companies needed to do a lot better than they did. They are just in a position now where base hits won't do it. Grand slams are what's needed at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my wingman, usually my Trek wingman, Brian, Master of None. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a fun day. I had a good laugh this afternoon. Got to see some people melting down on the internet, which is always a good time. And then I went back to work, finished my day out, got home, did To the Max, which just ended about 15 minutes ago. And I am here with my good friend William to talk more about what happened today. But to get a better, more expert opinion. So I'm glad to be here right now.
Okay. Let's see who else. I just heard somebody else pop in real quick.
Oh, that would be Mr. Thade. He's here.
That is Thade.
Yeah.
How you doing, Thade? Let me.
Hey, what's up?
Person, I got a message here coming in.
How doing I?
All right. Well, I'm gonna be sitting here eating my dinner on mute until you guys get things done.
Okay.
I got the guy that just popped in. We got.
Okay, cool.
So, Mr. RJ, we made again. I heard you on Twitter Spaces. That was fun.
I know, it's fun. Hey,
RJ,
quick question: Is this the DC funeral stream?
No, I don't believe in funerals for people who didn't die. I'm not going to have that kind of conversation. I'm going to have an.
I know. I'm just messing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. A lot of that stuff has gone online, but I'm going to go over what I thought of it, and I'm going to try to keep the conversation to places that has from where it has gone today, because some of the conversations have been outright crazy, and really, it's not all that. It's not. We're not talking about nuclear fission here, but there are things that they could have done better. So right out of the bat, I'm going to go ahead and start with what I thought of the DC panel. So in my opinion, I don't think this was a win at all, simple because there's been plenty of time to make something better than what you had today. Now, I understand that David Zaslav has been with the company for 3 months, but he also knew that he was going to 100% sure acquire this company up to a year in advance. There should have been a DC head in place already that should have been giving this.
What's the holdup?
I don't know. I wish I could be a fly on that wall. That's good. That's a whole stream for itself right there. Maybe the job might not be that attractive. Maybe they're negotiating money. I don't know. I have no qualified answer. Problem number one with this, and there were some good things about this stream. The 2 trailers that they put out were great. I was already going to see this movie, but both trailers were great. I'll get to that later because there was some good stuff that came out for DC today. All right. Problem number one was no A-list characters. For as big as a star that The Rock is, and whether you can debate on what level of actor he is a draw. He is an attraction, and that just is what it is. The 2 movies that were put in the forefront today were not A-list characters. They weren't IPs that people attach to in the ways that DC. Now, people also make they always try to make the comparison with Marvel. Well, Marvel can put so-and-so in and then people will go see it. They do so for the most part because they have a support structure of over 25 to 30 movies, and they had a support structure of the management, even when they had some characters that people may not arguably known or not known. I still think a lot of people knew who Iron Man was, but even if they didn't, once they decided they were going to tell an Avengers story, the company backed them and they let them do that. So, and when you tell an Avengers story, you start with the founding Avengers, which is what they did almost in the order of them joining the team. So, but with DC, the expectation is different. The expectation is different with DC. Now, and I'm going to go back to when you think of DC, you have to think of it in a framework of the company and how it was founded. Now I'm going to bring something up, and hopefully I still screw up the share screen, so don't laugh at me when I do this, or don't do this. All right, so I think I can do this without screwing it up. All right.
Oh, if you needed to, I got you, man.
All right, everybody, you see that, right? This is the DC logo that was from 1942 to, I think, 1947, if I'm correct. This was the second logo that they ever used. The company pretty much started making comics 1938, Action Comics #1. So this is earlier in the company. What does it say on that? Anybody can go ahead and read to me. What does it say on that logo?
A Superman production.
A Superman publication. Are you trying to say that like Superman is probably one of the most important characters when it comes to DC Comics?
In comics in general, but mainly DC. So when we make the comparison to do these offshoots in these B characters, understand that the expectation since 1942 and beyond has been this right here. That hasn't changed. Okay, this is 80 years of being ingrained. So when I mention DC Comics, it's Batman, it's Superman, it's Joker, it's Alfred the Butler. It's characters that people who will never, ever, ever pick up a paper comic book will know instantaneously upon seeing them or being introduced to them. That is the standard. Now, the standard of conventions, I beg to differ in certain cases, but for the standard of conventions in pop culture is Comic-Con. So you came to Comic-Con with B-list, C-list characters when you had the nuclear option in your tool chest. You came to Comic-Con with grenades when you had Fat Man and or Little Boy right at your disposal. So that's a problem for me right there, is that and in these expectations I'm talking about, people, listen, it is not up to you or me to decide the expectations. All right. There is no such thing as fair when it comes to expectations. When you assume the job of DC Comics, whatever, or Warner Brothers, whatever, you inherit this. The standard has been there longer than you've been alive, than I've been alive. My grandfather, or rest in peace, my father before him, before anybody on this panel or anybody who is currently working at DC Comics or films right now was even born. This standard that I have up on the screen was there. So you don't show up. I would have, I would have rather stayed at home, be honest with you. You don't come to the prom, the game, to the Super Bowl, like I was telling people before. If I have a Super Bowl quarterback in Tom Brady, I'm not starting Bubby Brister. All right? It's not happening. I'm coming to the big game with my best shot. They didn't do that today. And I think that has been an issue for the
Could you argue they did their job, though, if their job and their mission was to get people excited for Black Adam and Shazam?
That can't be their job, unfortunately. They did their job as far as that goes, and that narrow focus, I agree. It's your DC Comics. Okay.
But they're in a situation, though, couldn't you argue, where they really can't promote any of these other movies, though? With all the drama with Ezra Miller, the drama with Amber Heard and Aquaman, like, they're not in a position where they can, like, do a giant showcase of everything right now. Because there's still a lot of stuff in flux.
Those latter situations are, be honest with you, not a huge deal. We don't.
If it wasn't a huge deal, why weren't they there today?
Because first of all, Flash is 5,000 years away.
Marvel just showed trailers and stuff for like 10 years away.
Hold on. Remember, let's go back to that. What's on that screen? Read that screen again.
A Superman publication.
Okay, we're not done with Alpha first. Let me first of all, if you bought Alpha, if you bought even the mention of the Alpha, I don't even need to get to the Fishman or the really fast guy. If you bought the Alpha today, and I'm not even talking about Cavill, because I'm going to be able to make this case without even bringing in Cavill or Snyder. I'm going to make that case clean without that, because there's ways you could have really gotten a hype going for your 2 major or 3 major IPs, the Trinity, without even having any of those people there. And if you look, I'm going to ask you guys one question, and just jumping over the Marvel thing. Do we know who is casted in Fantastic Four yet?
No, they're saying that for D23.
Okay. Do we know who's directing Fantastic Four yet?
That's probably also D23.
So we don't even know who the guy catering the sandwiches for the cast.
My bad.
Is for Fantastic Four, correct? We know virtually nothing.
We know it's got a new release date. We know it's going to kick off Phase 6.
Exactly. So we have a movie that we know nothing about that we have an announcement for. They could have done the same thing with Superman. They could have done the same thing with anything that they wanted to. We can fill in a lot of that stuff later, whether it's Cavill or anybody else. But you've been at the helm for 3 months and you've had money going into the company for a year. You can't show up to Comic-Con without mention of your nuclear weapon. Your grenades, having the grenades are there, but for that to be the crux of their presentation, and those what they brought was great. Black Adam looks great, but I was already on board with Black Adam. The Shazam, I liked the original Shazam movie. I was a fan of it. It didn't make as much money as a lot of movies goes, but like I said, as far as the storyline goes, but once again, the same problem with Shazam and Black Adam is going to face them again. All the money Black Adam makes is going to be because Dwayne Rock Johnson is in it. That is what's going to propel that movie.
Well, do you feel like maybe they didn't do a? Oh, okay. No, I was just gonna say, do you think maybe it's because The Rock wanted it to be focused solely on his movie, and any other announcements of any other kind of movies or Superman would have overshadowed him?
The Rock is what, as we'll get with Jim Lee, there's one distinction that neither one of those men have, and that's Chief Executive Officer of Warner Brothers Discovery. All right, so we can still go with what The Rock wants and still bring in. I mean, we don't have to have somebody on his panel corrupting his movie if we don't want to. But guess what? He got up and left the stage, and there was plenty of time for somebody else to come. The head of DC Films would have been nice. This would have been a nice. I mean, to me, to not make it a priority to have a head of DC Films in place before this.
Well, this event was Zaslav co-signed. This was his first big public appearance at Comic-Con as the new company.
Yeah, and I don't think it went well. Another thing we had, like I said, I wrote down.
They completely dropped the ball.
Yeah, and like I said, not to knock the two things that they gave you because those were brilliant. I really enjoyed both of those trailers, and I wish they would have done more. I wish there was more going into these movies. October 21st it'll be here soon. Okay, one of the major problems I had, no cohesive plan going forward. There was nothing that anybody left Hall H with, or that I got off when I was watching.
Shazam tickets.
Yeah, I'm getting in for free anyway. And I'm probably going away a bunch, but there was nothing.
Again, though, it's all because of Flash. Because Flash comes out next year, is meant to be the movie that sets things into focus for the plan. But that movie's in flux right now. And there's so much going on with that. They're kind of, I feel like, they don't know how to market it yet or present that movie to the public yet.
I'm sorry. I didn't resign. All right. If your marketing people can't market your major IPs around this type of stuff that people deal with in workplaces and entertainment every day, then like I said, I'm about to order a pizza and maybe that guy can do that right. Because that's not an excuse. That's a child excuse. That's not a big boy's excuse.
Well, I'm saying that might be like the reasoning for it. I'm not saying
that is the reason. That's not an reason. I understand what you're saying, but that's not an acceptable reason. You see what I'm saying? If that's the reason, that's one thing. That's not an acceptable reason. You're better off just putting these two trailers out on YouTube and having The Rock do a live stream than if you were going to bring the rest of the tools in the box. When you have all this attention on you what happens when you lay out a game plan and you stick with it, it gives people confidence and credibility. It adds credibility to what you're doing. It gives you a framework. Instead of
I have a clip here real quick. If you can pull up my screen, that may help alleviate some of your concerns, maybe potentially. So,
is this you singing the stripper song?
No, God, no. Listen to this.
What does Black Adam think of heroes like Superman and the Justice Leaguers, who I imagine are very famous in this world? And have you and Henry talked about what that showdown might look like if it ever happened?
I will say this. I will say that Henry's a buddy, and he is a phenomenal Superman. He is a phenomenal Superman, and Henry Cavill is the Superman of our generation. With respect to the other Supermans in the past, and every time I see him, we have some tequila, I always say, that's Superman. And these guys will attest to that. So my longtime business partner, Danny Garcia, who who's his sister, she has been a passionate advocate for Henry Cavill and his career for a very, very long time. So the reason why I say all that is because you got a lot of people who advocate on Henry's behalf and root for him to win. And I do root for him to win. And at the end of the day, he is a phenomenal Superman.
Okay. Before I respond to that, I'm going to bring in a very special guest. There's two people, Chris Ron Swinson and my next person that on. They got together and they basically created me because those were the first two shows I watched.
Oh my God, is it who I think it is?
Yeah, and I've had a chance to meet him in person. Little dude, he's a Giants fan. Nobody's perfect, but
perfect.
Oh my God, it's Dave.
That was quite an introduction right there, little dude.
Don't let him besmirch the Giants, man. No.
I mean, well, you know what? When I was scoping out the stream, and Brian, when I saw you wearing a Giants hat, I was like, well, that's good. At least we have a fellow Giants, even though they're sucking against the Dodgers, and I'm really disappointed in those guys. But my God,
hey, Dave. Dave,
I
just want to really quickly say I enjoy your content, bro.
Thank you.
Really cool that you're here on the panel. Welcome.
Yeah, William invited, and I was like, you know what? He's invited me so many times, and I always feel bad because usually on Friday when I'm about to do a vodka stream that could go on for about 6-7 hours, whatever the fuck. So I'm like, yeah. So sometimes I'm like, I just can't. But tonight I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's do it tonight. So, hey, everybody.
So I've been listening to you all day, pretty much. I was on watching at 10 a.m. this morning. I saw your responses, and I saw your responses to the Marvel stuff.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day, and you just watched the that video of Dwayne Johnson. His butt must be so clenched right there because he's just like, how do I answer this?
He looks like he was really struggling to find an answer.
Yeah, because
the poor guy got put on the point more than once today,
and that's why I like Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis. I know sometimes he's giving some shit when it comes to this stuff, but he asked those kind of questions and he went for it, and that's why I like about Brandon Davis. It's like he was like, "Hey, Henry Cavill, what the fuck? Like this is Superman." He didn't say just like, "Who do you want as Superman?" He said Henry Cavill, because obviously this is what everybody's been talking about all week. He flat out name dropped. He didn't say like a Superman or nothing like that. He flat out went for it. And I think Dwayne Johnson was like, he's seen, because he's a businessman. He knows what's out there. When he tweeted out that tweet a few weeks ago, people blasted. I even said, hey, blast his tweet with Henry Cavill. We want Henry Cavill. So I think he wasn't prepared. Usually he's prepared because it's Dwayne Johnson, but right there, he did not feel prepared for that answer. So
I think there's negotiations going on. I think the negotiations are going on all the way up till today, and that there could have been a different outcome. And I think that this is I don't have any skin in the game, and I don't have any inside sources. I think we're going to end up with him in the movie. There's still time to do stuff with him, add him in. But for the purposes of today, I just think that they should have primered us a little bit better as far as getting us excited, not just about that, but about buying into this whole DC anything right now. Because the one things that standalone films don't do is carry momentum. Like Batman came out on March 4th. I'm already done with Batman in my mind space. That money's already been made. That movie got me excited for another Batman that I'll get maybe 2 years from now.
Well, you also got Penguin.
The thing that I think they needed.
Don't forget
the thing that I think they need.
One at a time, guys. Dave, go first.
Yeah. No, I was just saying like the spinoffs and the comic book stuff. I mean, yeah, that was just all. That's it. Go ahead.
Zade?
Yeah, what I think they needed to do today, with the exception of the 2 trailers they gave us, that was all fun and all. And by the way, Dave, I was there when they pulled your stream earlier.
Yeah, it got zapped, and then I was like, all right, what do I do? And then it just came back, and I was like, all right.
You had a crap
What
load
the
of people
hell?
watching, dude. Congrats on that, man. You had a lot of people
But
Oh, I
watching.
know.
Uh,
It got blasted.
But
up, man.
anyway, I was going to finish my point. They should have come with something about the DC movie head. They should have had that ready at least.
Oh, look
Wait a
who
minute.
showed up.
Gosh.
Wait
Oh,
a
look,
minute.
it's the Overlord.
I know. I think I just
Are you-
just on a panel with this
Real
guy.
quick, I had to
I
ask,
was.
Enosh, are you okay?
No.
Oh,
I don't think I'll ever be the same again, honestly, after all
is it
that
that
mess
bad?
today.
Is it that bad?
Dude,
Like,
it's
seriously?
worse than bad. It's worse than bad. Like I said, this has nothing to do with Henry Cavill. This has nothing to do with whether or not he showed up today or not. Today, and I don't know what you guys are talking, so I don't want to just like jump in.
Yeah, we were
like,
talking
'cause
about the DC stuff. We're getting
Okay,
to that.
Today
So
we celebrate our independence. Sorry.
Right.
My
So
apologies.
here's the problem. Today just showed that the DC had no they had no strategy coming. They thought, hey, we're just going to come in with our 2 movies and everybody's going to be fine. And we're just going to sneak this one past everybody that, like, look, we got this cool Shazam movie that looks great, by the way. I think Shazam looks amazing.
I love the trailer.
Right? I think Shazam looks fantastic. Black Adam, I just feel like it's still just kind of blah. It's just kind of there.
That movie needs
There's
Superman. I'm sorry. I'll
there's
say it
cool
now. That
things.
movie
There's
needs
things that
Superman.
look decent in it that look cool.
Hawkman,
Don't
man.
Hawkman,
Dr. Fate. That's me with
Dr.
Dr.
Yeah.
Fate.
Best part,
Dr.
best part.
Fate, Hawkman
Best
look amazing. Everything in that film, I was joking about it on the stream that Dave and I were on. Everything looks great about it, but the things that I think look great about it are the things that are not Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
Right. And so that concerns me. And look, all this did is change my perspective, because at this point, because I'm a DC fan, I've been willing, like, everything that comes out, I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going to give that a chance. And it's not that I'm not going to give things a chance. It's just that I just feel like now, unless you prove to me something, Warner Brothers and DC, and you prove to me that your thing works, I don't trust you anymore. I don't trust you that you know what the hell you're doing. I don't trust you that you have anything in common, like with the people who are watching and investing in your TV shows and movies and whatnot. I don't think that you know what your plan is going forward. You're trying to cobble a bunch of stuff together going, hey, let's take this Lego piece out of this set over here. It's like Landon, when I spent the money, when Landon was a baby, he wasn't a baby, he was young, he was about 5. I bought him the Snow Speeder Lego set. Okay. And dude, we put that thing together, me and him, and he was playing with it, and it was great. And then my sister bought him this Batmobile set, which was amazing. We put it together, and it was absolutely awesome. And I came in one day, and you know what he had done? He had taken them both apart and just scattered the parts with the rest of his Legos. Okay? Literally the rest of his Legos. Because he didn't understand that I could go buy him a tub of Legos. Okay? For like $10, man, back then, $10-15, I could buy him a tub of Legos that he could use to create anything he wants. But my sister had spent $70 on that Batman thing. And I had spent however much I spent on the Snowspeeder thing. And to this day, we joke about it now, but we joke about the fact that, like, he's never been able to find all the parts of those things ever again, and he wishes he could. But he lost that opportunity. It was gone. And it was before I was able to tell him, hey, this is going, dude, don't take all this stuff apart and just ramble it together, because these are special pieces that you need to make sure you know where they go, because this is what you want them to be. That's exactly actually now how I feel with DC, is we're just taking a bunch of parts. Hey, these are the things that we think were successful from Zack Snyder's stuff, so let's take that. And it's not even about Zack Snyder, because I don't need Zack Snyder to direct everything. I don't need him to come back and be in charge of DC films. Listen, there were people who were like, he's going to walk out on stage today. Bullshit. He was never going to do that. He was never going to do that. So all that nonsense, put that aside before all the people start sending me messages or coming into the chat and going, Enosh is just a Snyder, whatever. No, That's not it at all.
I'm sorry I sent those messages to
Yeah,
you.
well,
Well,
Dave,
Enoch,
but
Enoch,
it's
in all
not that at
fairness,
all. It's not that at all for me. What it is now is it just shows me they're just trying to cobble pieces of this together with this, and they're scared to reboot. They're scared to just start fresh and say, okay, look, you know what? We're going to walk away from all that because you know what? They want the people still. They like having people on the line still. They like people all week going, ooh, Henry Cavill might come back. Ooh, so we're going to watch this thing. We're going to do this thing. They like that. And I don't anymore. I don't. I can't.
The difference is, Enoch, and you're right. You're completely right. But the difference is they don't do it the right way. Yeah, they'll dangle a fish, but it's not the fish everybody's looking for.
Well, I was going to bring up real quick.
Again,
I said this on 2 streams today, and I'll let you finish, Tate. I'm sorry, but here's the thing. You know, there's a problem when literally just the idea, the inkling, and the thought that Henry Cavill could show up outshines everything you presented, and is more exciting, the thought, than anything you presented. And honestly would have propelled you over the top into the stratosphere for with even the little bit that you presented, Warner Brothers. And if you're going to tell me that you're not even considering that, I don't know how to help you anymore. I just don't.
And unfortunately, to finish my point, unfortunately, they're going to continue to lose more people. Like I've told you before, they lost me a year ago. They lost me a year ago because, look, today kind of piqued my interest because the Shazam trailer looked great. But I haven't even seen Shazam 1. I've not even watched Aquaman. I've not even watched a lot of the stuff after the Snyder Cut. And I'm not a Snyder guy. You know that.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched any of that stuff simply because DC just does not hold my attention anymore.
Yeah.
It's apathy, and that's the problem.
And that's the major problem. Apathy is going to kill this side of the fandom. When even the Marvel animation panel yesterday outdid the DC panel today, that says something.
Marvel animation panel was really good.
Well, and I know that Ray
panel outdid it.
I know that Dave was there with me. Dave was there with me, and I know that Ray, our good buddy Ray, did not like me saying this and like everybody wants to act like, well, there's no competition between bullshit. There's competition between all of these things, and there always will be.
There is.
Okay,
of course there is.
And so my thing is like not to say if there should be or like, hey, we're all fans of stuff, so we're gonna like stuff, right? That's fine. But my thing was literally at that point, after watching those 2 things today, or hearing about them or whatever, and then watching the clips and everything, all Marvel literally had to do was walk into the room and breathe. They didn't have to say. They didn't have to show anything, announce. But when they're coming and going, hey, here's another 5 years of stuff, and it's gonna 2 Avengers movies.
They went above and beyond, which is the other crazy thing too.
Oh, and by the way, there's another 8 things debuting at D23.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
but hey, maybe at Fandom, Cavill will come out then, right? Right, Mikey?
What Fandom?
Right?
What Fandom?
Right?
What Fandom?
I wanted to bring up James.
We have no reports for
That's actually
Fandom.
a great point that I wanted to make too. They did not even capitalize on making sure that The Rock and Zachary Levi were on stage together. I was shocked by that. I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, The Rock shows up in uniform.
Dave, share what you were talking about a couple of weeks ago, though, even with the Elvis movie.
Yeah, because basically it's like, all right, so if you have Black Adam coming out in October, it's like, all right, why do you have your Elvis movie coming out during the summer blockbuster? Put it out during the award season, because we all know that October is pretty much where it starts when it comes to these movies that this is going to be Oscar bait. This is Oscar bait. Elvis is very much Oscar bait. If you've watched it, it's Oscar bait to the max. Austin Butler, and even got Baz Luhrmann, who has his own style, told a great story. It's a great movie. I really enjoyed it. And so if you put that out in November and kind of connected, because obviously you got Black Adam and Shazam, October and December, and then you got Elvis, which in the movie, they mentioned Captain Marvel, Shazam, because that's who Elvis looked up to. That's why he had the jumpsuit with the small cape that looks like Shazam's cape. You know, I mean, they could have done something where it's like, hey, tie it all together. Warner Brothers, you could just kind of just tie it all together. You know, just I don't know. There's just
real
something
quick,
there
guys,
that they could have done.
And that's Ray's here. So I do want to address this because Ray says, in all fairness, if DC fails, it doesn't help Marvel the way you think it will, because the superhero genre will get stagnant with only one speed of superhero content being released.
Oh, yeah,
Can I just say this? But Ray, to most people, it's already one speed of superhero content because DC is not even in the race for half of this stuff. Like they're not even showing up. It's like they're showing up 2 days late for the race and saying I'm ready to go now, you know? So
it's like they got to the party late, like the party's winding down and like they just got there.
Right. So, you know, I don't know.
Real quick before the show gets out of control, because we did bring up an item on the ban list in animation. So sorry. Ban list includes DC animation, Marvel animation, especially X-Men, the Esmeralda situation, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, all things Tolkien, pineapple on pizza.
It's good though.
What?
Pineapple on anything.
Yeah,
old trick ban, the gatekeeper version.
But the thing, William, I made that point only to say that they were outdone by that panel. I didn't mean to bring up animation.
No, I'm just it's a joke. Here's one of the other things I don't want to hear anymore, and I know people mean well when they say this. Reboot, and here's why. Before anybody responds,
okay.
In order to do a reboot, you had to have a credible basis to begin with. So, say we do this reboot.
No, you didn't.
No, you sort of. Trust me, if they do a reboot on this shaky stuff that they got now, it's just going to recycle the bad will and the apathy. The apathy is going to grow. Because when you basically, like I said, it's saying, I gave you my money for a long time.
But dude, that's why they do a reboot. That's why you do a reboot, because it's not working. And you need to do something different.
Because we never came to the conclusion, really, like I said, that the stuff that we started watching wasn't working.
Yes, I do.
Oh, jeez. Why is she watching?
Because Dave's here. She has a Dave crush.
Oh, she's a Dave stalker? At least it's not Wayne T. Cars.
Dave doesn't even know who you are, Saggy.
Oh, what are you talking? Shut
Yeah, watch your DM.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Saggy. Yeah.
What needs to happen, though, is not a reboot. What Ray said earlier tonight is a retooling. A lot of stuff can still change. You still have the basis of your universe. But what needs to happen is everything that we've seen and we'll see has to be put into some type of ebb and flow to make it worth it. Otherwise, I'm starting over again. And it's like not even people who are going to have anguish over it and going to throw a chair or blow a gasket. The general fan that I talk to on a daily basis is growing further and further away from this product. And one of the biggest things that will hurt any franchise at this stage is starting over again especially when people who have invested their time. So they really need to take a look at everything that they have. And this requires a strategy. The S word is strategy. My problem is they should have came in today with that. They should have came in today with.
They should have come in with the movie head. They should have come in with the DC movie head. They should have.
They can't find it. They can't find them. They can't find them. They can't find. That's the thing.
It's like running for mayor in the city of Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants that job. The only people who want that job are delusional people who literally think that I'm going to be the one that changes, or they're corrupt and they want to come in and they really don't want to help the situation. They just literally want to do the bare minimum because they know that doing the bare minimum makes them look like they're genius.
And if somebody actually they got the job, they would have probably gladly introduced, like, hey, guess what? We have a new head of DC. They would have probably introduced, but they can't find that person. That's the sad part. They can't. Everything's such a mess right now.
It's because everybody knows it's a mess. Is why they can't get anybody.
Yeah. Well,
there is nothing at the helm. There is no one at the helm.
One at a time, guys.
God.
Go ahead, Dave. Nobody can hear when somebody. Go ahead, Dave. Finish your thought.
There's literally no one at the helm, and that's the problem. The ship's steering into a reef right now.
All right, RJ.
And nobody's taking it anywhere, and that's the problem.
Well, I was gonna mention, I think it got mentioned in an article somewhere that like the people who are looking at the job are like thinking this is like the most thankless job in all of Hollywood. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
You know,
All
because
right,
like you're
so-
cleaning up like a giant mess, and you're having to inherit so many problems that like how do you actually like? Plus, you're gonna always be compared to Kevin Feige, fairly or unfairly.
Always.
Okay, so here's how that needed to be solved, like it's solved in corporate companies across the world. Is right now the de facto head is David Zaslav. Then one thing that can make a lot of what you guys said go away is the fact that, okay, Dave Pena, I'm hiring you. You're running DC Films.
About time.
I'm down. Done.
Yeah.
All right, Enoch.
Yeah,
easy.
he's gonna be my co-captain.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys
That
are going to
was
come
easy.
into my office, and the most important thing before we discuss any nuts and bolts is I called you to come into my office because I think you can do this job. You're going to have my backing. So all that mess and all that stuff that went before, the biggest difference between Kevin Feige, especially at this stage, and a lot of different other people is he had the backing. It was his ingenuity, but he also had the backing because all it would have took is one of those corporate fat cats to pull a chair from under him, and we may never have gotten where we were here. So the first conversation that needs to happen with the head of DC Films is I have your back. I called you in here because I sat in this office and looked at this screen and looked at your resume for the entire time I was sitting in abeyance waiting to take over this company. I believe that you're my guy. And once I hire you, and this is the way Zaslav actually works. If you study the way he runs Discovery, once he hires somebody, he lets them do their thing.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
those are the two things that need to. And I'm surprised he hasn't made that case because he's made that case in messier situations. This isn't the end of the world job. The pieces are there. It's just that you have to start.
Well, you got to find. It's only 3 months in, too. By the way, I mean
that's true. But he's sitting there for
Have
a
you
year.
guys ever seen that episode of South Park from a couple of years ago where Mr. Mackey has the computer program for the school that like screws up the entire school? Yeah. And then they're like, well, Mr. Mackey, you need to hire somebody to come fix this. So he comes in and he presents this lady as like being in charge of like all of that and all the technical stuff and everything. And then he's like, I want to present to you, who I hired or whatever. And they're like, okay, so what's going on? He goes, yeah, what is going on? You seem to mess up the whole school with your whole program and everything. Like totally turns on the girl who he just hires. Like, I think we need to fire you. And then like fires her. And it's like, well, I'm glad we got that out of the way. Now if we could just go back to this program, it's like, yeah, no, it's not that simple, man. Like nobody wants that job, man. Like why would you want that job? Like I said, it was like being the mayor of Flint during the water crisis.
I wouldn't want that job under previous man. You're
all
right.
eyes on you, man.
I wouldn't want that job under the previous clown car that was running the show. I would want that job under a guy who has this history that made Discovery. Pimple Popper Network bought Warner Media. That's the guy who put that company in position. So I would take that job under that guy, not under the previous circus. You're right. But under the current one that had with his history, I'd give that a shot. Like I said, a lot of this stuff here and today, what people were so disappointed about today wasn't even about the day. This was a culmination of not having a plan even before the previous regime. Because once again, companies change course all the time. Marvel, everybody, they have a different. Some have fire directors and hire directors. Happens all the time. Where the bump in the road and people notice is if you don't have a plan in place when you do that. So if Enosh, I don't like the way you're running my movie or whatever, right? I think, you know what, it's time to remove Enosh. If I don't have a person in Enosh's place with a better plan than Enosh, then I need to keep Enosh in place. And that's the problem. They haven't had a plan since they removed the original plan. I don't care who it is. And most general audience wouldn't even care, wouldn't even be diving this deep into it had there been a plan. If a Justice League would have came out and blew our socks off, who knows where we would be. But once again, stop entering these big moments without a plan. You know
well,
what I mean?
I think part of it was like Dwayne Johnson was like, I got this. Look, I'm going to have this whole crazy setup, and I'm going to show up in Black Adam's costume.
Which was cool. That was cool.
It was cool. It was cool, but it wasn't enough. That's the thing. It's like, why?
Now
okay,
they wasted the chance with Zachary Levi there to have.
I'm like, that's what I kept saying. I kept going, okay, is Zachary Levi in the back changing into a Shazam costume and he's going to show up on stage? Because that would actually create some hype. And I mean, you literally have the hero and the villain right here that are supposed to be together. And then there's like a behind the scenes video where they're talking. I'm like, all right, why didn't that happen on stage? There should have been something on stage. It's like, hey,
Right.
Dwayne, you come from wrestling. You know how this works. Do something like that. But it just didn't come together. And I don't even understand. I don't understand why they didn't even attempt to do that. But and when it comes to this, yeah, I mean, money is always the case.
Yeah.
Cavill shot high, Warner Brothers before it shot low. I mean, it was like that's what it was.
I was gonna say I have the tweets actually. If you want to pull them up, that Anthony's referring to. If you want to take a look at those.
Viranon, yeah.
Yeah, so Viranon's a decently reliable person.
Why are we bringing this guy up?
Well, no, I'm just this is what's been. I'm just explaining where he said it's all a game of he said, she said. But I've been told on multiple occasions that Henry Cavill isn't Superman right now because Henry's unwilling to come back. I don't know what Warner Brothers' terms are that he isn't happy with. The CEO's asked him back on multiple occasions. Maybe they aren't offering him enough money. Maybe he wants more creative control and they're unwilling to budge. Honestly, I have no idea. I've heard dozens of reasons from a dozen people. I was hoping,
Or it could just be that he's busy. It could just be that he's got several projects.
You lost me. You lost me. Honestly, I have no idea.
He's
So,
busy,
none of us do.
but he does. Like, how many times has he said what kind of Superman story would he want to do? You know, I mean, like, there's always been the whole thing about like, oh yeah, was he working well with the others? I'm like, Zach loves him. I mean, every time that it's like his birthday or it's like Superman Day, I mean, Zach always goes, hey, that's my Superman and blah blah blah. And but let's face it, like when he was cast as Superman and Man of Steel, he was a nobody. People were calling Henry Cavill. I remember calling him that.
Yep,
Cavill?
I called him that.
Yeah, I know. For the longest time, they're like, "Oh wait, it's Cavill." Shit, we've been saying it wrong. But now
there's Gal Gadot. And
yeah,
Gal
I know.
Gadot as well.
Yeah, another one too. Gadot, whatever the
Right.
Yeah, but now these people are names, so now it's like their value is different. So it's like, all right, if I'm going to come back as Superman, I want to have it where it's like, hey, I want to have a movie of like a story, like he said it before, like a Man of Tomorrow or something like this. He's had like his ideas, and he's even probably talked. I mean, you can't tell me that when he was on Mission Impossible Fallout, him and Christopher McQuarrie talked about Superman ideas because Christopher McQuarrie apparently pitched a Superman idea at one point, or was that a Green Lantern? I can't remember.
It was Superman with
he was Superman, right?
Appearance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
So I
Superman
mean, like, so I mean, you can't tell me that they didn't like talk about certain things, but the way that Warner Brothers was with AT&T and like that old regime, I mean, it's just like they just didn't know what the fuck they wanted to do. Right. Zach had a definite plan of what he wanted to do, and what we've always been talking about is like if they would have just let that plan go forward, it would have been done already, and you could do whatever the hell you want right now. You know, whatever you wanted to, it would be done, and you could just like build off of it, or you could reboot, whatever the hell you want to do.
Well, that's what I think they should do now. If I'm ever going to use the term reboot, I'm going to add something to it and go credible reboot, which means finish what you started. Forget about restore the Snyderverse. Let's resolve the Snyderverse. Let's give yourself a plan.
That's a hashtag.
Yeah. Resolve the Snyderverse. There you go.
No, and the reason I'm saying that is because we can resolve these things and use those as a launching pad to wherever we want. The storytelling is there for them to do, though. But right now, it's like the sword of Damocles hanging over their head. Is like I said, they have a credibility issue no matter what it is. And that would solve a lot of credibility issues, not just with hardcore guys like us, but in general, because a lot of people that, like I said, I tell them, hey, I got a free seat for you to come see this DC movie. And the confusion, it's not a hate, it's a confusion. And the Batman, we did that promo for the Batman. Who's Batman now? First word out of this lady's mouth, I'm giving her a T-shirt with the little steel gun Batman on it, setting her up. And who's Batman? Is it Ben Affleck? I remember that movie. And then there's so much. I had to answer so many questions. Now, for the guys on this screen, no problem. We know we're diving into it. But the other 97% of us, you got to start stringing things together. They will go where you lead them. They will follow the crumbs. The general audience will follow the crumbs where you want them to take. Marketing. And they haven't, they're just like pigeons. They're just throwing it anywhere, and the fattest bird gets the bread. That's this organization. And like I said, they did this in Fandom when they came in without a plan. Now, I knew that was a waste of the regime, and most of those guys were on their way out anyway. See you later, Brian. But, it's been 3 months, but at the same time, you sat there for a year and analyzed this company from every molecule. I was hoping for something better. I'm not a hopeless person to the point where I don't, because I still think he's going to sign. I think we're being the blind side of negotiations. We're fans. It's not our jobs to know what's negotiating. It's all hearsay at that point. There's backroom deals and whatever's going on that we'll never know even once it's signed. I'm going to make a bet that it will eventually happen. It's sad that they didn't have it happen, but the problem is it should have never, the success of DC films today at Comic-Con should have never hinged on one or two things. You're a major comic book company. You should have been throwing things at me like a Frisbee and me like a dog in the crowd just catching them. There should have been so much stuff. So when you left that presentation, there's so much to be excited about. It didn't hinge on The Flash. It didn't hinge on Cavill. It didn't hinge on Superman in general, even though he should be a big part of it. But we had these two things, and the success of their day was hinged on two B characters. So that's a huge issue for me. So like I said, Ray, these are two firsts. I've never been on the same screen as Ray. The closest I've been able to come to being on the same screen as Ray was when I make fun of Enosh on, and I pay to do that on the vodka stream.
I think actually this is Ray's first time on the Poindexter Lounge.
It is. It is.
What's up, Ray? Welcome.
You want to talk about travesties? Given the fact that this guy literally lives 10 minutes away from me.
Did you realize that, Ray, you were going to get that? You know, you're also going to get that, the fact that you live so close.
Ladies and gentlemen, you want to talk about stuff that should happen like in DC. This guy should be able to do a show literally live from this room with me. Like, we could make the ultimate power show.
Yes.
I was going to give you a much softer, much honorable introduction. First time having you on. I've watched the content.
I have known this man's very special lady for years. Yes. And we used to laugh and joke before I even knew who Ray was. I realized one day who Ray was on the vodka stream. I was like, wait a second, hold on. That was you.
Yeah.
Welcome to this show. I'm trying to have a little bit less of a memorial conversation and more.
No, I understand. Yeah. No, but Enosh, no. When you brought up Shonda's name, that was like the what really?
Yeah,
like the world just gets so much smaller, right?
Yes.
Whenever.
Which, by the way, Shonda is amazing. She's great. Her and I used to do sales for their company, and I'd walk in, and her and I would talk DC stuff because she knew I was a big DC guy, and we would talk DC shows, man. Those early days of the show, The Flash, and all those cool things and stuff. And then she would tell me, yeah, my boyfriend's really into DC and stuff. I should get you guys together sometime. And it wasn't even her that brought us together. That's the crazy thing about that.
It was BVS Comes Home. I think that was the event last year down in Birmingham. But anyway, no, and she loves Man of Steel. Man of Steel is like her favorite. Like she loves that Superman and all that, which is totally irrelevant to what we're talking about here. No, William, I find myself agreeing with a lot of what you're saying, especially when it comes to like.
Now I regret that I invited you, Ray. Come on.
Fair enough.
Well, no. You might disappear any minute now. Sorry.
But and Enosh's thing is, you've definitely been very vocally pissed off today, and I 100% understand it because we all share an an anger and a really frustration, a disappointment over. Missed opportunities. That's really what this is. It's massive missed opportunities, and it seems so obvious to us. We said this last night on the vodka stream, and we said it again over at Real Anarchy. But it's like this whole, you know how many problems they could have solved had they just put that dude on stage. Like you would half the fan base that's talking about reboot it now would have shut up and stopped it.
Logo
calls them
so
away.
This guy showed that Superman logo, and that would have done a lot more.
Well, you didn't need a release date. You didn't need an actual film or a project. You just needed Cavill to go. The scenario I brought up a week or so ago, where I was like, if they actually did the Shazam and Black Adam face off, like WWE,
something fun, man.
Like they could face off against each other. Like two boxers squaring off against each other, and then Cavill steps out in Michael Buffer form, let's get ready to rumble. That's all you needed. That's it.
That's the next movie.
Right.
He could've
And that
walked out
would
there.
have.
Yeah, that would have, yeah, exactly. Because I even had that thought too. I'm like, can you imagine if like you had both Levi and Dwayne Johnson on stage, they're staring each other down. Dwayne Johnson does his best, like, staring him down and being like, hey, you need help. And obviously Levi would be uncomfortable because obviously it's Billy Batson. He's a kid. And then he goes, yeah, you're right. And then all of a sudden, who shows up on stage? It's like, I don't know. I just had that like vision in my mind. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I mean, if they really wanted to go like full spectacle and just blow the roof off Hall H, they could have done, with something like that. And even Cavill, I mean, I know he's still filming The Witcher, and that's probably where he is right now. He probably is currently filming right now in the UK. But it just would have been cool if there's somehow they could have worked it out, because what's also good about that is like he would have been in tip-top shape. He would have been looking just supremely jacked in his costume, or even if he even showed up, I mean, he would have just totally been in Superman shape, and it's just fucking sucks.
And what goes back to my very first point about certain things just had to happen today. When your DC films, and like I said, one of the earliest logos you had was Superman was on the logo of your comics for 5 years. That pipe dream that we were thinking of needed to be something that happened. At some point, you have to meet expectations. It's been their biggest Achilles heel. The expectations are there already, and they inherited those. You can say, well, it's not fair. Screw fair. All right. Fair's for pussies. All right. If you are, if you're going to take on the mantle that includes the big red S, this today, they should have been out thinking, even everything that you guys came up with is right. They should have been out thinking us.
Yeah.
This needed to be a spectacle. And you know what he's doing in Witcher right now? There's these things called planes. You fly around. You're wearing a wig. It's not like your hair is really silver. They got a plane and they fly. You get on them and they fly you around. And
he could have also done something closed caption too, like a Zoom call or something like that.
Yeah, or virtual, because that happened too with Marin and Zegler. They came in virtual.
But they're not Superman. I get the plane, the Learjet, because I think Zazoff has one. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Zazoff has a jet. That jet flies to wherever Cavill is. There's a guy waiting, and you get on that plane, and we're going to fly you out, pay for your hotel, pay for everything, and you're going to walk out there, and you're going to live up to the expectations.
He's filming right now, so I don't think he could have left.
Listen, there's planes, and they got these wings on them, right? And they fly really fast around the world. And you know what else they do? Hold on. When you're done doing what the plane drops you off to, they fly back, which means you can actually go back to where
what's funny?
Doing.
What's funny too is like he would have been flying back in time, right? Because the UK is ahead. So if he would have flown back, he would have like actually went back in time. Because I mean, I don't know.
Recreating the Christopher Reeve, like
right.
World.
The funny thing about all of it is like, even like we're talking about like the perception of DC and like how they need to do this and they need to do that, and how they've lost so much ground, right, to like Marvel Studios and all that, right? The funny thing about it is they don't even need to do that much to get back into the general audience zeitgeist. They don't. You know how you said, you said all, and I agree with you. All Feige had to do was walk through the door. And that was it. Hall H was theirs, right? DC has that power to open the door, not even walk in it.
Yeah.
Open the door, and boom, you've got everybody. And we know they have this power because we've seen it happen before.
Well, somebody said it in a chat a minute ago. They could have just dropped on the screen. They could have just dropped the S.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. That's what I said, yeah.
and played the music, and that would have been enough at this point.
Exactly. That's it. And right. And there would have been no date, like no schedule, right? Like it would have been significantly less from an objective standpoint than what Marvel did, and yet it would have garnered the same headline. It would have been equalized at the very least. If not, maybe pushed past, because the headline would have been Superman returns to Hall H. That would have been the headline.
Marvel was successful because they met their expectations, and they've done that.
To be honest, I think they surpassed them because let's be honest, I cover
yeah,
Marvel,
they did the minimum
obviously.
but DC.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that they like the expectations were just Black Panther 2 trailer, She-Hulk trailer, and maybe something special. Nobody was thinking Phase 5 and 6. Nobody.
I kind of disagree with that because the leaks started coming out and Marvel fans tend to have really big expectations, and you can't blame them for having really big expectations.
No. I think that people were expecting like a surprise, absolutely, but like even with the trademark leaks, we didn't really know what that was going to mean because they told us, and what was reported was that like they're going to show some stuff today, but wait for D23. They went above and beyond even my own expectations. I was blown away by how much they showed.
I think what they decided was, okay, we're going to show some stuff at D23, but similar to what DC should have thought today, this is your first time back in Hall H in 2 years. Yeah. So they blew their wad. They said, this is our first time back in person. Let's go all out. And they did. They did.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that Comic-Con where literally they had Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill come out on stage and said nothing? They walked out on stage and that's it. And I think Gal Gadot was there too. Nothing was said, no questions, no nothing. They just walked out on stage because we all knew that they're going to be leading, BVS. We already got the introduction like previous year. They walked out on stage, said nothing. The whole place like blew up. Everything blew up, and that's it. That was it. There was because Zach was like, hey, we're filming it right now, so we don't have really much to bring or say or whatever the hell, blah blah blah. And it was just like, oh shit, like wow, like they just walked out on stage, and that was it. And it was just, oh yeah, there's the actors that are playing Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent, and Diana Prince, and it was like people were like losing their shit. That's the Trinity or whatever the fuck, Right. And it was just again going back to what you were saying about like DC doesn't really have to do much because it's like they have that's all that was needed to blow the rooftop off of Hall H was just them showing up.
That's why it's so much more frustrating. That's why it's so much more frustrating because we know just don't cross. Just walk up to the line. Just sneeze on the line. That's all you have to do.
It's that factor of disappointment because they're capable of doing it.
Dance on the other side of the line is fine.
That's it.
Just dance.
That's all they need to do.
I say go full nuclear. Go full Buffalo Wild Wings nuclear before your tongue is burning, and he comes out in that costume.
That's break Twitter.
You come out in that costume, and you walk out there. Not a word needs to be said. You walk out in their costume while The Rock is in his costume. Even if they both change and go back, you get that moment. There's nothing that they released in Comic-Con today, which is great as it was for Marvel, that would have trumped that moment.
It would have.
Nope. With The Rock staring down. Yes. And I love some of the stuff because we'll talk about Wakanda and all that. But The Rock staring down Henry Cavill after all this time, after all this misery, would have propelled them to whatever they needed. They didn't even need to give any details today. We just need to know that there's a beacon going forward. Okay, you can work out the details at Fandom or on YouTube or all these other things. You just need to get me excited. All right?
And Dwayne Johnson was like he had his head right where it was like he showed up, he introduced himself in the costume. I was like, hey, there you go. Why aren't we doing more of this? How this has been done many times before. I mean, I always remember Tom Hiddleston showing up in the Loki costume.
He was up in
the straight. They even had that today. They had that today with what's his name, the Evolutionary or whatever.
What concerns
dude from Peacemaker?
What concerns me is that we have no announcement for Fandom this year.
That's
true. Need a fandom. They need a fandom.
What happens if there is no Fandom this year?
Okay,
I don't know.
Once again, that's unacceptable because you got a movie coming out. You got movies coming out after, and no, you got to have a Fandom because this today didn't do it.
You
have a movie coming out next week. There's a movie coming out next week. They didn't even talk about it.
I mean,
Super Pets.
Right.
Not one word about it. I don't even understand that because you
literally
have.
See, that's the thing.
Keanu Reeves was there.
Right. Reeves was there. The Rock was there. It doesn't make any. No, that did not.
You had Batman. You had Batman, and you had Crypto. The voices. You could have got Kevin Hart there, and maybe he would have made it. There could have been something there, but like you literally had some of the voices there. there was no mention of Super Pets. It's like, how is there no mention of Super Pets? So the whole Justice League is in that movie. Come on, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
The thing is, The Rock even name dropped Kevin
Yeah.
Kevin
Oh,
Hart.
yeah, like a fan asked about Kevin Hart, and he talked about Kevin Hart at the panel. Yeah.
You know, with as good a friend as
The Rock was fully expecting to have Cavill there. I got it.
Yeah, and that's why he looked so awkward when they put him on the spot with those questions. The Rock was like, "Henry's not here."
All right, so the ban list just expanded by one topic: the Blue Beetle. How do you spell?
I know you hate Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle.
No, you know what? I don't hate Blue Beetle.
William hates Blue Beetle and Batgirl.
I don't hate Blue Beetle. Don't hate
disgusting.
Batgirl. You know what I hate, guys? I hate the fact that they're the access of what's going on and not the main characters. I got secondary B, C, and D characters driving the train when I got Fat Man and Little Boy, my two nuclear bombs, just sitting in the shed. All right. Why do I even know who the hell Batgirl is? Why? Who? Wonder why. I wonder whose book she appeared in. Okay.
William,
Why do I give a
Six Batman. Hey, how excited did you get when anytime you were watching like an episode of 6 Batman and you're like, and then all of a sudden you saw Batgirl go across, you're like, oh, it's a Batgirl episode. Come on, William. Batgirl.
Dude, they needed to bring more than Fat Man and Little Boy. They needed to bring Zara Bomba and Castle Bravo.
Yeah, the Russian
That's what they needed to bring.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
I don't hate Blue Beetle. I don't hate any of these secondary and thirdary, whatever we carry. I don't hate them. I just want them to appear in the context.
It's tertiary, by the way.
Yeah. Or real quick, William, I wanted to ask you this, William, actually, because this is
the word is
something that
tertiary.
didn't get ignored by that panel. The Rock kind of like came out in front of Hall H and said, "Hey, here's the plan with Black Adam and what our goal is." He said the goal of this movie is to act as a fresh start and to kickstart a new era of DC films, and the goal for this movie is to be a launching point for the JSA.
Okay,
a good strategy?
$1 million. First of all, there are 3 letters in there that kill that plan. The last 3 letters you said.
JSA.
I sell comic books. I have people in here who are buying comic books who don't know who the hell JSA are. Back in 2006, when they had that storyline, when they brought him in God, where they had a huge crossover, I had people looking at me like I grew horns myself, trying to figure out who the JSA are, who have been around for decades.
But you grew horns a long time ago, William.
I'm just wondering
now, in all fairness with that, and I said it myself earlier, that yes, you're going to have to explain who the frick the JSA are. Here's the problem with it. It's not bringing in the JSA, because you can always look, if we were in a better place where there was an established Justice League and your Superman was there, your Batman was there, your Flash was there, Wonder Woman, everything, man, you're all good to go. And then you're like, hey guys, but hey, there's this other thing called the Justice Society. And see, they're a whole other group of superheroes, and they're amazing. You remember how, like, when you were into Marvel, and you got the Avengers, right? But then we introduced you into the Guardians of the Galaxy, who was another group of heroes. We're going to introduce you to this other group of heroes. The problem is you don't have your main thing established, and you're already going, hey, this Justice Society. Well, people are going to scratch your head and go, wait, is that like the Justice League? Or because there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with introducing new and cool concepts, even if the comics aren't selling. I'm sure that Guardians of the Galaxy weren't blowing the roof and lid off of sales.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean? But look, I didn't even know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were when I saw that thing come up, right? And the thing is, but the thing is that nobody cares, Thade. But I'm just saying, like, for me as somebody, I literally watched that first trailer and I went, this could be Marvel's first, a talking raccoon and a tree.
My dad is a prime example.
I was like, what the heck? And then I saw it. Now it's one of my favorite DC or one of my favorite Marvel movies of all of them, right?
To be fair, guys,
there's nothing wrong with introducing it if you have an established universe, and we don't have that yet.
To be fair, though, in the Golden Age, the Trinity was part of Justice Society. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman were all part of the Justice Society. So,
but the point, Dave, is this Justice Society, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman?
No.
Then shut up, Dave. No, I'm just
you know what, Enoch?
we haven't been on a stream together in a while, so I got to mess
hide him at this point. But
well, of course you got to mess with me.
Here's the one thing it's another problem. I brought this up a bunch of times over in the lounge, is the appearance of settling. Everything we've gotten in the last 5 years is from DC is because we couldn't get the A product, or we couldn't get the product that we were aiming for. Almost everything, even some of the movies that turned out great. I liked the Batman. We're not going to get into whoever hates it, but I liked it. Right?
It.
Okay, but why did we get the Batman? We got the Batman because we didn't get the A product we were going for, so we settled for patent. Why are we getting Blue Beetle? Because we're getting these second and third. We're getting Shazam. We're getting a guy flying in a cape, a couple guys flying in a cape. Why? Because we can't get the guy that we're expected to get flying in a cape. And it is a perception of settling. It is like we can't get the A product, but we're going to get.
Well, let me ask you this then: if the Rock is being serious and telling like the whole world, "Hey, this movie is the launching pad for like the new era of DC films," is that settling, or is that them coming up with a new plan saying we're committed to it?
Either way, it's the wrong answer. Either way, it's the wrong answer. Simply because
the Rock selling it. That's all.
He's selling it because he has to. But once again, the Justice Society didn't just come out of an egg yesterday. They've been around with no interest, and now you're trying to launch them. And once again, if you throw the Justice Society out there as a bouncing off point to start something, the first question I'm going to get, and I know it, is where's the Justice League? Why are we? No, I mean, it's not going to stick. And it doesn't matter the quality of the stuff that they're putting out. Shazam, I love Shazam. It's a great movie. But I will say this, and I've taken it to my grave. Hopefully it's 89 years from now. The biggest problem Shazam has...
Not in your shape.
...is, screw you, Enosh. The biggest problem Shazam has...
I mean, that'd make you like 100 and... Oh, wait, no, wait. That's right. That'd make you like about 306.
You get out to Vegas here. We'll do a PT test. We will do an Army physical fitness test.
And I'm still amazed that you think you're in better shape than I am.
I will sign a waiver. I will sign a waiver.
Wow. I am absolutely. You'll have to sign a waiver because nobody will believe it.
I will have an ambulance.
We'll all be worried for your physical health, my friend.
I will introduce you to your ambulance driver because we know who's going to be the one to pass out. But anyway, the biggest problem that these movies have, Black Adam and Shazam have, is that they're Black Adam and Shazam. They aren't widely known IP. They aren't the IPs that the company should be hinged on right now.
So I get your point with respect to those. I think your Batman point fails a bit only because, like, it's Batman. Batman can succeed.
Well, we wouldn't have gotten that Batman if we'd have gotten our A product, would we?
Right, but
that's my only point.
But Batman's, and I understand what you're saying, but like Batman is an A product in any incarnation. He just is. So the idea of settling for Pattinson, no, we didn't settle for Reeves, we didn't settle for Pattinson. So when it comes, but I think when you're talking about the other characters, we're talking, like for example, this idea, and however, because we don't know what the Flash is going to do as far as the film, and that's one of the biggest problems that we have is the ambiguity, the unknown. We don't know how all this stuff is going to shake out, and so you all you have is conjecture, and you hear stuff like a year or so ago from the Scoopers about how they're trying to do another World's Finest with Supergirl, and Batgirl, and it doesn't, and what I think a couple days ago.
The whole question about Michael Keaton too.
Right, exactly. So the in that regard, I get what you're saying, like in terms of the whole like settling idea, because you can't like get the A-listers, but of course the problem with that is, well, you could get an A-lister. He's right there, but
he's waiting for you.
But is it because of is it because of what Dave is saying? Is it purely the DC chief ambiguity? Is that what is holding it up? Is that the primary reason that we can't get that particular A-lister? Right, that to me, that's what kind of hinges on the whole future of whether or not you retool or reboot this thing. I figured out my breaking point this week, William. My breaking point is Cavill. If you're going to recast him, blow it up. I'm not interested in a retooling that recasts.
I think
Superman.
That's the linchpin, to be honest. I think that's for a lot of people.
That
viewpoint.
Yeah,
that's why I feel like I've gone over the edge today. Like
it's even there for me, to be honest.
But by the way, this is the last I'll make of this joke. But here's me when I show up to Vegas for my battle with William.
You might not like it, but this is what the peak male athletic form looks like.
and and vice versa. Here's William when he shows up.
Like beef. I smell 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 like beef.
And here's the battle itself.
Now show me your warrior fierceness.
Emotional damage.
I cannot wait to annihilate you when we get out.
That guy always kills me.
I'm
sure Ray loved that one. Yeah,
that was Data Lore first season. That was the first episode. Yep.
Hey man, that was a good episode. That was a good episode, man.
It was.
No, but seriously, but seriously, I just making a point as not a huge DC fan. Even I say Cavill should still be Superman. Recasting Superman would just throw me off.
It'd be a nightmare. It would cost you time that you don't have. I don't think you have the time anymore.
Guys, I want to believe in DC. I want to believe in DC, but I just don't, and I haven't in a year and a half. And that's what sucks for me because I've always been a fan of both.
What was the breaking point for you a year and a half ago, Fade? What was it?
The apathy after the Snyder thing. I mean, the apathy after Snyder.
The Sarnoff article.
The Sarnoff article. Yeah, all of that. Like,
I remember that.
It just made me not interested in any of it, you know?
Yeah.
I have literally...
When you see the reaction to Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, even like I had the normies on like a couple of weeks ago, and watching their reaction, I like throughout they had like 2 parts watching that, and it was like 2-hour parts. They did a good job of like breaking it down, and like you see the reaction to like certain scenes. So many times during those videos, they were like, "They're not continuing this. They're not. They're not going to like what the fuck? They're not going to."
That was the bittersweet thing for me.
The Russo brothers.
Russo brothers, yeah.
I subscribed to HBO Plus last year simply to see 3 movies. Okay. The most of them being Zack Snyder's Justice League. And to know at the end of that movie and all the promise that movie gave, to know that I probably will never get the end of that, it lost it for me. And I stopped caring. You know? I mean, it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong. I love that movie. I do.
And here's the thing. I don't need a bunch. I don't need 25 movies. All this geek wants is the resolution of that story. Once you resolve that story, you can do anything you want to. And now that the general audience has seen that story, you will have zero credibility trying to go off in these offshoot directions. As long as it's like you're trying to dance and move around an elephant in a room that takes up 90% of the room, and you're trying to move in new furniture. You can't do it. At some point, you have to have enough credibility to make another decision. And right now, everything that they do is based on the shaky ground that is the unresolved situation at this. Like I said, we don't need cultists. We don't need any of that stuff. A normal fan can take a look at what's there and turn and look at me and say, this isn't finished. And if you didn't finish this, why should I jump on board with you on anything else? You're like an Uber driver that's just going to toss me out when we got 6 miles before we get to the house. I don't trust you, and it's a trust issue. I don't trust you.
He put Granny Goodness. He literally put Granny Goodness
right
in a scene where he didn't have to, but he did.
And dude, believe me, I cheered when I saw her. Like that was huge for me. But again, to finish the point I was making, look, a resolution to that story would be nice, but I would also love a Man of Steel 2. Like, it's been, 9 years? It's been, 9 years?
Almost a decade.
Almost a decade. Mm-hmm. And they made the point on the real, the last stream Enosh was on. They made the point, the last stream you both were on, actually. Y'all made the point that...
3 of us, yeah.
Y'all made the point that... Oh, yeah, Dave was there, too. Duh. Anyway, I was kind of listening to y'all while I was making dinner, so...
It's fine.
But the thing about it is, though, Superman hasn't gotten a second movie yet. Thor's gotten 4.
Yeah.
Thor's gotten 4. Ant-Man's getting his trilogy is complete at the beginning of next year.
How is that? How is that a thing?
Captain America's finally getting his third movie. We've been waiting.
But
6
how
years
how
for it.
is one of the
Yeah,
greatest
no,
superheroes in the world has not even gotten a sequel yet?
The first superhero, the gold
Right.
standard of superheroes.
We're getting 2 Avengers movies in the same year, 6 months apart.
That's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
you know,
but yeah.
and respect for Snyder to be like, all right, what do we when it came to like, all right, Man of Steel, it was a success, no matter what people say. And when they were going like, what's going to be a sequel? And he was like, what about Batman? And they turned it into something where it was like, oh, and obviously that got rearranged a little bit because I think initially, from what I gathered, is that he wasn't planning on like having like, hey, we're gonna also have this clip of Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg and blah blah blah. It was supposed to be like a Trinity movie, which is pretty cool. I like that. It's like, all right, the Trinity. I mean, I remember when and anybody who read the Rebirth comics, they had a Trinity comic book, and that first few issues were pretty damn fantastic. The way that they handled just those 3 and what was happening because they were like in a dream world that was controlled by Poison.
It was a Black Mercy storyline.
Yeah, and it was great. It was like great. I'm like, yeah, I mean, like start with that core, that Trinity, and then you can lead into it. And I think he got pressure where it was like, all right, well, we got to start introducing the Justice League, so that's why. But they made it work, even with Chris Terrio and all that stuff. I'm still curious to hear what that original script was like for BVS because Metallo was supposed to be a part of it. It was supposed to be a lot more actiony and less political, but it got more political when Chris Terrio came in. So I'm kind of curious of what that original script was like. But
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm just as curious as you are, Dave. But I've always kind of treated BVS as a Trinity movie. Because
it is.
Because once Wonder Woman is introduced and you spend a decent amount of time showing us her character, even before she suits up, it's like, well, no, it's the Trinity. The 3.
When you get the introduction, they're all in their secret identities. You have Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent, and Diana Prince at Lex Luthor's little gala thing. I mean, it's such a perfect,
right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so and then Bruce is like totally going, oh my God, pretty girl, don't quote me, because it's like he's like totally drawn in by her because she's gorgeous, and she's looking at him going, I know you, and I'm going to need your help soon, and then Clark's going, I know this guy's maybe he doesn't know he's Batman yet, but at the moment, because I think he realizes when he hears Alfred talking into his ear, he's like, wait, what the fuck? There's like there's a whole thing. That whole scene is constructed so well because it's like the introduction of the Trinity together, but they don't exactly know each other, and it's so good. And I love, Lex Luthor is like, Clark Kent meets Bruce Wayne. I love it. I love bringing people together. I mean, it was such an awesome scene, such a very well constructed scene, and and if it would have just kept just that, where like they didn't need to like start like setting the stepping stones for the Justice League. There's just something about like, man, if it was just a Trinity, which it is, like you said, it's a Trinity film, but if they just didn't need to like full force go like, oh yeah, well we have also these people, even though I don't mind that. When Flash showed up in the Batcave, I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, it's happening. He's traveling back in time.
Well, like when the whole, the people that rag on the whole email thing, I'm like, no, that's not the introduction of the characters. It's the revelation that they exist in the universe. They're not going to be, and that's the other thing I love about Zack Snyder's Justice League is the unconventional way that it treats new introductions. I've said this before to people, because like a controversial hot take incoming. Yeah, when it comes to comparison's sake, like having seen both movies several times, I think Zack Snyder's Justice League is better than the first Avengers film. And one of the arguments that I've heard over the years about, DC rushing to the Justice League is not everybody got a solo movie. And my immediate question is, well, where was Hawkeye and Black Widow's solo movie? Because they didn't get a solo movie either. Like they use the Avengers to introduce those characters, right? So Zack Snyder's Justice League just did the same thing. Right. So Zack Snyder's Justice. Yeah, Black Widow was introduced in Iron Man 2. I get that. But
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
Hawkeye
so
was introduced in Thor, but
right.
So they already were introduced, kind of.
But like there wasn't a backstory. I get what you're saying.
Right.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And there really wasn't. There still wasn't any for Hawkeye in that film, to be honest.
Not till Age of Ultron, essentially. If you think about it.
Yeah. But what I like about what I really like about Zack Snyder's Justice League is basically what they did was they gave you full setup for the Trinity. Like you'd seen Superman in 2 films, Batman got his film certainly in BVS, Wonder Woman got her solo movie from Patty Jenkins, and so they used Zack Snyder's Justice League to introduce the other half, to introduce Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, and the way that they were able to organically do that in one film. And still, like using that, it's kind of it's defeating, not necessarily defeating, but it's the other way. It's why I say that there doesn't have to be. You don't have to consider the MCU the gold standard. There's more than one way to skin the cat. This is the other way to do it. You could do it the solo movie way, or you can do it this way, where you bring in your heavy hitters first, your Trinity, and then when the team comes together, that's when you introduce the other 3. And it's like, all right, what's Cyborg's backstory? What's Flash's backstory? What's Aquaman's backstory? And you get all of that very organically in that film. And I really appreciate that it takes a different tact in doing that. And to me, it just feels much more organic. And just the dynamics, the one of the scenes that I compare is the shot that we love where they're all talking around the mother box.
Yeah.
That whole scene. Compare that to like the argument on the helicarrier where Loki's scepter is getting them all to argue and all that. I don't know, man. The mother box scene just feels way more organic to me. Nobody was talking down to Barry. Barry being the youngest member of the team. Usually the youngest member of the team was the one that gets slapped down and was like, that type of deal. And that wasn't that. Like he was a respected member, and like it was a very organic way that they came about to the conclusion of what they needed to do. And I don't know. I appreciate the difference in that structure.
I see both of those scenes as being good. Okay, the Avengers scene that you mentioned.
I'm not saying the other one is bad. I just like the
way that starts is like everything that's good that came out of you came out of a bottle. I just love how he says bottle. I'm like, oh. God, I don't know. I just
you also have to look at so the Avengers were brought together as a mandate. The Justice League came together because they felt they needed to, and that's the difference. The Avengers were forced together. The Justice League weren't.
Yeah, right.
And that's the difference in those 2 scenes.
Right. And to that end, like Nick Fury is like he's the catalyst. He is the reason. Like if he doesn't start, if he doesn't talk to Stark at the end of Iron Man, if he doesn't, if he doesn't unfreeze Cap at the end of,
if he doesn't show up, and if they don't show up at the end of Incredible Hulk, it's all
right.
A thing. And but that being said, though, like I said, the difference is they were forced together in kind of an Amanda Waller draw them together sort of situation. We have no choice. You guys have to join together. The JSA did it a different way. It's similar scenes, but different ways of coming together.
Right. If you look at it from a corporate standpoint, the superhero group, DC created the superhero group, was created from a marketing standpoint to sell individual comics and not the other way around. Individual comics for DC in that era were not meant to sell a one. It was the Justice League of America that sold. And if you look at one point in time, I did 37% of all characters that DC had came from either the Trinity or the Justice League. So it's pretty much, if not more. So they basically created that as a way station to tell other stories. And that's why I always agreed with getting to the Justice League as soon as they did, if they were going to branch out and tell other stories, because it was the most recognizable asset that they had, that comprised of the most recognizable assets that they had. And it's a name brand. I can walk out on the street and everybody's going to know who every one of those or that Trinity is. It's not going to be, most of my marketing is done right there. I don't have to build up Superman. I think we know who he is to the point where I can start where Zach did. I know we know who Wonder Woman is. So I mean, so on. So I always thought, and to that aspect, the empty seat that is DC films. One of the part of the interview is, listen, I know you guys had a conversation with the competition between Marvel and all that, and yes, on the face of it, it is undeniably that they exist on the same plane. But for my business purposes, part of that interview the new DC head, I need that guy to be able to think beyond that and independent of that. I need the next DC head to apply DC's characteristics and assets that they have built for almost 80 years and build from within and give me something I've never seen before, kind of like what Zach was doing. Marvel's success and what Kevin Feige has done is suitable for what they are and what he had and the backing he had. This is a whole new situation. I really want them to do some really different things going forward. And
I think they have to.
Well, I think what it comes down to, what I think it comes down to is this. Again, I heard this said on a show earlier today that I watched. The difference in DC and Marvel is the DC stories, at least in the comics, have always been larger than life. Okay, Marvel is the world. Marvel is the world outside your window. Okay, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
DC really needs to bring it, and in a big way, before I trust them again.
Me too.
And not to mention they have history too. I mean, let's face it. I mean, how many times have you heard "not my Superman, not my Batman"? Yeah. Wait until somebody says "not my Wolverine, not my Tony Stark." That's that's gonna be an interesting, because Marvel was going all right. It was getting introduced. I mean, obviously, Spider-Man, X-Men were like the popular ones because obviously, what was a hit in the '90s? Those animated shows, Spider-Man and X-Men. And I'm glad that X-Men's coming back and everything. And that was great that they showed all that. Can't wait to watch that. But those were like the first, right? It was, yeah. I mean, I was like, I can't wait. And even the freshman year of Spider-Man is going to be interesting.
And it's like I said earlier, Dave. When the Marvel animation panel yesterday did better than the DC panel today, there's a
Star Trek panel was better than the DC
panel.
Hell,
the Star Trek panel did better from what I'm hearing.
Look, yes, listen, dude, I'm getting Mariner and Boimler aboard the Enterprise in Strange New Worlds next year. Are you fucking kidding me?
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
Right. Oh, by the way, Ray, Strange New World, so amazing.
Hold on.
They're doing a crossover between Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, animated and live action. Yes.
Hold on. They're putting Boimler in live action.
But Boimler and Mariner live action, Tawny Newsom and Jack Quaid live action next year in the crossover, directed by Jonathan Frakes.
Wow. Yeah, they broke they broke the internet with that. Yeah.
Yes.
How did I not see that?
Yeah. That was
William, check the private chat.
But yeah, that was after the season 3 teaser for Picard, where we saw Geordi and Worf and everybody else.
Old man Worf. Holy crap!
He looks badass. He looks amazing.
I'm there for that then.
Again, why is it that Star Trek delivered but DC couldn't?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but okay, if we want to answer that
did
question.
Dave get cut off a couple seconds ago?
Did I? I don't know.
You were going somewhere and then
it probably was, but who knows? I think I was just saying that, because DC is so, let's face it, it has this history. It's harder to do that, to do what, Marvel is just totally almost like they're coasting. Like Kevin Feige goes, well, we could basically do. I mean, is everything going to work? No, and it hasn't. But at the same time, most of it's going to work, and I would, and it has been working. And the fact that he could just come out on stage and be like, oh yeah, well, even though we're like wrapping up, this phase, hey, let's go fast forward to this Fantastic Four and 2 Avengers films in Phase 6, 2025. Good night, everybody. It's like, it's crazy that he can just do that. And everybody goes, oh my God. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I saw people like, I love you, Kevin. It was like, oh wow. Yeah. He's lucky.
David,
So what?
Go ahead, Ray. No, Star Trek went through a whole dark period where it wasn't all roses. Today was a good day for Star Trek. I'm sorry.
Okay. Like, I mean, like, what dark period do you mean? Like, from
2004 to 2016.
Okay, yes, that's okay. No, I thought you were.
Oh,
gonna
the dark
say,
period, you mean? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
No,
The dark times before the new stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because not everybody digs the new stuff, but whatever. Like, it's the.
To be honest, I didn't at first until these guys convinced me.
I am okay. Just to clarify here, as much as I love talking about DC and comic book stuff, this is my number one franchise on planet Earth. No matter what, if you come to me and say, Ray, you can only watch one franchise for the rest of your life, I will cut you off and point to this franchise. I do not give a shit. This is my greatest. This is like the number one franchise in my life since
Ray,
I was 9.
Strange New Worlds. Am I right? Strange New Worlds. Oh my God. Anyway,
I love everything that Paramount Plus is doing, and Strange New Worlds.
I love Strange New Worlds.
Been utterly fantastic, and it was funny because in season 2 of Discovery, I didn't want that show. I didn't want that. People were calling for when Pike and Spock and Una, the three of them were introduced in that season. And people were calling for a Pike show, and I'm like, we don't need a damn Pike show because we already have the original series. And then by the time the season was over, I was like, no, screw it, we need a Pike show. I want to see this. I want to be specific, I don't want, because some people are like, well, are they going to reboot the original series? Are they going to redo episodes? I don't want that. I want a scenario where if you say Strange New Worlds and on some point, at some level, does evolve into like the early years of TOS, before we get to season 1 of that show. Just weave your way around the episodes that exist and basically tell the stories that we never saw in the original series.
Tim, you watch your mouth, Tim Possible. The Orville is not hit or miss. The Orville literally freaking made me cry with this resolution for a story that's 3 seasons in.
I need to watch that show.
That show is amazing. That show is freaking... Dude, I would start it over and watch it with you, my friend.
Well, Seth MacFarlane announced today that it's going to be on Disney Plus in a couple of weeks. It's going to.
Oh man, I'm just hoping for more, man. I'm just hoping for more, man. Because I tell you
what. Let me read Anthony's super chat because I almost missed it. Thanks, Enoch. Why do you?
You also have another super chat after this one too.
Yes,
I suck at this. Why do you think The Rock didn't declare he wanted to face Henry Superman while on stage at Hall HY taking questions? Contracts.
Yeah, I don't think he could.
That would be that would be him interfering in someone else's contract negotiations, and he wouldn't want that done with them. And they're probably sensitive. They're probably really close, but once again, you never talk somebody else's business. And by making a demand, he would have put his ex-wife, who is both their agents, and his friend in a position where that would have affected their negotiations. So that's probably why they didn't do it that way.
Probably why Rock was all uncomfortable when trying to answer that question too.
Yeah,
he's like, "What can I say? What can I say that's not going to get me in trouble?"
Right.
Well, the look on his face says the look on his face says enough. Like, he was very uncomfortable answering that question both times it was asked. To be honest.
Yes. Yeah. Well, certainly the second time. The second time he was like, he was thinking. You could see the gears turning in his head. Like, what do I say that I can say, like, in this regard? So yeah, I unfortunately, and really that we were talking about this earlier, the end of his answer sounded like campaigning. Sounded like there's still a like a not a divide, but like he still feels the need to prop up the idea of Henry coming back because maybe not everybody is on board with it. For whatever reason, whether it is the needing the new DC chief to come in, or whether it's
I think people just aren't listening. I think people just aren't listening, and I think a lot of that is happening at WBD right now. There's a whole lot of not listening.
Well, you have some transitional personnel there. You still have some people left over that are still singing that old song. And then you have a new guy who's got a bunch of stockholders who just put a whole lot of money in not only buying the company, but buying up their debt. And this is why I think you won't see a reboot, simply because the quickest way to make your cash cow actually crap out cash is by going with the familiar. And right now, the familiar, everybody says the hinges on Cavill. That's why I think it will happen. I don't think Zaslav's dumb enough to not know what the ramifications are of starting over at this point. And if you get Cavill on board, they're gonna come to an agreement. I agree. I wish it would have happened today. I wish they would have been working on this a lot sooner. But I think that's gonna happen. And I think what The Rock did today is with a lot of people watching, he kind of came up to that line without crossing the line between clientele and agent and company. But he put a lot of leverage. What he did today put a lot of leverage on them to get something done, because that was a very underwhelming panel. And in large part because the one guy who wasn't there, like I said, the one guy who wasn't there was more important than anybody on that stage.
Let me ask you guys this really quick. I want to ask you guys this. Had Deadline not put that in the article, do you think that this panel still would have been disappointing?
No, not to the same
level. The way that it is.
It would have still, we would have still been like, wow, that was underwhelming, especially compared to what Marvel did. But there wouldn't have been the angst. There wouldn't be the vitriol that we had. If Deadline had kept its mouth shut, we'd be a lot less frustrated.
And I think the reason why the reason why they didn't debunk it is because everything's so up in the air right now. If Cavill full on was like not coming back, they would have debunked it. But the fact that they didn't shows that
it was true.
There's
I think
hope.
It was true.
There's the S on the chest, which means why?
And going even further, we even said this before, for many of us, the only reason that we even paid attention to the idea that this was going to happen is because it came from Deadline. If some other delusionist came up with this, or if like a Scooper Madness came up with this, we wouldn't have paid it any attention. We would have been like, whatever, bullshit, it's not going to happen. The fact that it came from a trade that we now can't trust anymore, that's what really emphasizes
there was a
this.
Scooper that said Man of Steel is going to be announced today. Anyways,
don't bring this.
I don't know who it was. I don't know. Go ahead.
Hey, Ray.
Yeah.
I think I can still trust him. You know why? I think it was true up to as far as the reporting that they may have had. I really think this thing was close to happening, closer than anybody will ever know.
Oh yeah.
I really think that their reporting was accurate until it wasn't. And then
I'm honestly surprised that came from. I was gonna say I'm very surprised that came from Deadline. Not only did it come from Deadline, what's wrong? Because typically Deadline's pretty sharp. I mean, they're pretty vetted.
I think they were this time too. I really do. They can't control circumstances changing at the last minute, though.
Right. And Casey had brought up earlier on the Real Talk and on Vodka Stream that they didn't really say that it was. They didn't confirm anything. They just said that they heard buzz.
Said there's a buzz. Yeah.
Right. That there was a buzz around it. Did they really lie? No. Were they really wrong? No. Technically not. But it's just the where it comes from. That's really what it is.
I think a lot of fans got thrown off by not just the Deadline article, but also the ambiguity of the Deadline article, but also that Rolling Stone hit piece last week.
Yeah,
there was a lot of anger from DC fans coming into SDCC and to this panel, and I think that just tipped it off even more. I mean, I'm seeing boycott WBD trending. So there's issues here. There's issues here. I'm hearing people boo The Rock when it's not The Rock's fault.
Speaking of which, Andrew Nathan, that was down there. That was the one we told you had another one.
Oh, okay. I was looking for it.
I know it looked
Were
a little
people
harder.
actually booing though? Because
I heard different. I heard different, but I wasn't there. So
because those who were in attendance, they actually didn't really boo. They're like, there's like some cheers,
Love you, Tim.
Some oohs, like ooh, is it really happening? Ooh,
I had heard that there was boos like after his answer, because his answer on stage obviously was very different to the whole Superman question than it was off. And I think there were some people that didn't like the ambiguity of his answer on stage, and that's where that came from. But you just kind of hope that if there were any boos, you really hope.
Well, I hate to cite Twitter because it's a cesspool, but when somebody mentioned that The Rock got booed, there were a whole lot of people in that chat going, "Yeah, well, he deserved the boos. He deserved it because we're not getting what we want." Basically, was the gist of the situation. And
I hate that. I hate people that mock fans like me. And because they're upset, but it's not just getting what I want. It's
Right.
meeting the expectations that they set. You
Exactly.
started me on this road. All
Entitlement.
I did was follow you and give you my money. Stop making fun and blaming the fans and figure out a way to take their money. That's how this retail thing works. You don't run from people that have two fists clenched with cash in them. All you got to do is turn around and take the cash. Figure out a way. It will be a lot easier for these clowns and all these people who call us toxic and all this garbage. It will be a lot easier for the corporation to turn around and take the money than it is to keep running, passing out, and dying from all this English.
Like
all right?
William's gonna do when he finally takes me on in Vegas. I mean, because like think of it that way, folks. Think of it as you're taking on this older gentleman that you respect in a lot of ways, but you know that he's physically just not where you're at. And no matter what he says, he's not going to listen. But you know, you got to be respectful because he's your elder, right?
When you pass out, on the track, can I take over the show? Legit. I mean, can we sign papers when they can't buy you out here?
So what you're saying is your show that you have right now, where this says Sci-Fi Center Live, is not legit.
No, but once you're gone,
no, there it is. Clip that. We'll clip that. We'll clip that.
No.
We'll clip that.
Okay.
It's not
but
legit.
yeah,
It's
this
not
this
legit.
this needs.
All right, guys, hold on
I
before
gotta
you
go.
continue, William.
I gotta go.
Our fearless leader's
right,
got to
great.
go. So we need to say good night to the boss.
I gotta.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna take off too because getting a little
Okay.
tired myself. I've
Yeah,
been
it's
doing
been
a
a
lot
long
of
day.
streaming today. Yeah, it's been a long day. So it's been nice talking to Ray. I've been talking to you too much in the past 24 hours.
Dave,
that's for sure.
it is
But I
really
love
cool
it.
being
I
on the
love
same
talking
panel
to
with you.
I was gonna say we're making up for some of those weekends I haven't
Yeah,
been
some of
able
those
to
missed
be
practice
on.
streams. We are. We
Yeah,
definitely
so,
are. We definitely
yeah.
are.
Dave, I just want to say it's been cool being on a panel with you finally.
For sure, man.
Appreciate it. Hopefully it happens again in
same
the
here.
future sometime.
Oh yeah, it definitely will. It definitely will. Definitely will. But
Look at Thade angling there. You know, like
Yeah.
I'd like to
Cloud
be on
chaser.
a
Cloud
stream with you
chaser.
one day.
Cloud chaser.
Hey, I always
Nick.
angle, Enosh. You know that.
That's true. Hey, at least you still got your coherent mind. I mean, unlike William. William just stands there. Like, I mean, look,
Well, look,
he blends in.
being-
With the wall.
Look at
He blends in with
that.
the wall.
Look, being a senior citizen like William here, I just want to say, thanks for having me around.
all right, Dave. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Enoch. Thank you, William.
leave
Talk to
you
you later, Ray.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you soon,
Yeah.
of course.
Night,
Dave,
Enosh. Night, Dave.
Oh, I do have to tell you guys this. Guess what I'm
Oh.
getting? Guess what I'm getting
shit.
Monday? You know what I'm getting
What?
Monday?
What?
I'm getting a 1990s era Data East Star Wars pinball machine
What?
Oh,
with custom
Dude.
Star Wars pinballs.
Wow.
dude,
Wow.
you have got to debut that, dude. You've got to debut that. We need to see
Make
it.
a video,
This
make
machine
a
has
cool
been my
fucking
dream
video.
since I was a teenager, going to 7-Eleven and playing this thing,
Wow.
and it
I'm
will
gonna
be
need measurements, so
mine.
when I get my hands on it, I can take it
Oh
right down
my
to Pawn
God.
Stars.
Dude, you wouldn't even know what to do with this beauty.
I'm gonna pawn
This
it,
is
right?
this is
There's
this is
the
a
golden
this is
pawn,
this
right?
is a beautiful lady. You will not be touching my beautiful lady. Let
Rick,
me tell you.
Rick and Big Hoss from Pawn Stars will know exactly what to do with it.
It's
All I
it's
gotta
gonna
do is
show up
down
to
there.
your house in a box marked fragile.
What were you saying, William?
Fragile.
Were you saying something, William? I'm sorry.
I don't know. He's zoomed in on himself, so.
Yeah,
No, I zoomed in on him.
Not only went
Jarrell,
muted,
Jarrell, you're muted,
yeah.
Jarrell. Jarrell,
Yeah,
you're
you're
muted.
Yeah, I've been using that. Hold on a second. We got to show Dave that one. I don't know if Dave's seen the one. Every time
Oh.
somebody comes in muted now, I just I play this drop right here.
I'm pronouncing you guilty. Guilty. You're on mute, Jarrell. Jarrell, you have to unmute yourself. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Oh man, I love Family Guy so much.
All right, guys.
Dave.
I'm going to go this time.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Good fun.
See you,
Appreciate it having
Take it
me.
easy.
Talk to you
Night,
guys later.
fellas.
Have a
See
good
you.
rest
All
of
right,
the
see you
night.
on the stream. Vodka
See
stream.
ya. All right. See you, Ray.
All right,
take it
so going on to the Marvel thing, because that was a lot of misery. I mean, like I said, I don't think I was as miserable as some of the people today that were just looking like they were going to jump off of the stratosphere here.
I was in heaven. I was in.
And you know
I
what?
was in
You're
heaven
going
with the
to
Marvel
hell,
panel.
RJ. You not?
No, seriously, I was
Well,
in
no,
as much
no, I
heaven
was-
as he was.
You should have seen my reactions, dude. Like we were
Oh.
losing our mind. It was
Listen,
heaven.
dude,
It was like
You
it
can't
was like
be
bliss.
wallowing in other people's unhappiness. That is.
Y-
I
Yeah,
wasn't
like-
wallowing. I was celebrating. It was fun.
You should not be celebrating in other people. You know what? There are shows out there that I can't stand, that I wish weren't existent, but I know they make somebody happy, so I just let them be happy.
The
Orville.
Hey, William, I just have to say this. Just because you guys in DC didn't get what you wanted doesn't mean you have to crap on our Marvel parade, okay?
No,
I don't crap on anybody's parade.
It's
Secret Wars is happening, and you said, "Where did they say that?" It actually is happening now.
Well, no, you're talking about Secret Wars, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I said I didn't never said it wasn't happening. I just said I wasn't going to talk about it until it was announced. Because how many times on any of these streams I chased my I chased my
that was
tail.
my dog. Sorry.
Okay. I chased my tail based on these scoopers and people who aren't the source. I'm from now on, good or bad, I'm not moving left or right until I hear it from the source itself. Because we've been talking about Secret Wars.
Exactly.
I think you were a minor.
So right,
literally.
It's
dude,
William.
William, we've been talking about
official
Secret Wars. We've been talking about Secret Wars since before these two were hatched, man. Come on.
It's a thing now, and we can talk about it. Wakanda Forever. I'm torn. First of all, I got to ask myself a question. Maybe, Ray, you can answer this because you watched it first. When does this story take place? Does it take place within the 5-year gap?
I think it clearly takes place. But
I think it's post MOM. I honestly think it's post MOM.
Go ahead.
It's got to be later because you're talking about Wakanda Forever. When does Wakanda Forever take place? Yeah, it's got to be after the 5-year gap because he was still alive.
Well, no, but remember they're all dead. They're all considered dead when they disappeared. Things went on.
So you're suggesting? Well, no, but wasn't Shuri part of that? Shuri was part of that. Shuri was one of the ones.
Yeah, Shuri was snapped. So this is clearly this is clearly current time. So
yeah. So that was because
now I have a problem because this movie looks great, but at the same time it's like I'm going to go to it and it looks awesome. It looks Academy Award winning cinematography.
Dude, it made me tear up, man.
It looks phenomenal.
The other thing to consider is, with the Atlanteans being there, this is the first time we've seen them. We've seen no indication of them. So that's another reason why this has got to be post Endgame. It's got to be post Endgame. My biggest question going into it was like, okay, how are they going to deal with Boseman's passing? And clearly they have decided to have him pass on. T'Challa is dead in the MCU.
I have a massive
Well, I will say this. What I loved about the trailer, though, is that what I thought was really poignant about it, what I thought was really powerful about it, is that T'Challa is not a looming shadow over this movie. It's more like his spirit is found throughout it. Right, it's not the looming shadow of the death of Chadwick Boseman. It's like the living legacy and the spirit of T'Challa and Chadwick.
Okay, stop.
I do have a question briefly here in a minute that I need to ask.
Before anybody goes, shouldn't even be a topic in the movie. This is a make-believe character with a make-believe story. Now I'm distorting my story for a.
But I think Chadwick Boseman I think that I think Ryan Coogler with that trailer proved that they have a great story to tell. Though that because I was concerned, but I think they've justified the decisions they've made with.
Well, don't we have to see the movie first? I mean, we can't judge all that.
I'm not judging the quality of the movie.
Look. Recast T'Challa or not, this was going to be a difficult situation with this movie. Okay.
Yes.
Grown people making a lot of money to make those decisions. We're not talking about preschoolers here.
I know that. But what would you have rather, William? Would you have rather they did make a movie at all?
No, I would have rather them take the time that they needed, if they needed to get over the emotional aspect of it and tell your story. The number one thing for me is for the storyteller to tell the story that they set out to tell. And you're letting things that have nothing to do with the story. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. But his death had nothing to do with
okay, but if I may, I am okay with that as long as it is the storyteller themselves making that choice. If this was if it was a case where Feige ordered Coogler to do this, then I would have a problem with that. But if Coogler wants to do this, if this is something that he and the cast and crew have elected into doing, that's where I believe in the creative freedom. He's choosing to do this.
This is all Ryan Coogler. This is all Ryan.
if he was, or if he was ordered to do this by Feige or Chapek or whoever it was, then we have a problem. But if the creative himself is actively choosing to do this, I don't have an issue with it.
And it looks like he is actively choosing to do it. From the way he talked on the panel, it seems that he is actively wanted to do this. This is not forced.
The problem is with I think it sets a precedent that I don't think a storyteller should follow. And this is my personal opinion about it. If your story was going forth one way, then the only thing that should change that trajectory are things within the story. People die, all right? People die every day, and the world spins. And this character has been around for a very long time and will be around for a very long time. You're letting something that
60
has
years.
No bearing, nothing to do with your story, affect your story.
Okay. If I could try and nail this down, it sounds like your concern is for the future of the Black Panther character in the MCU.
Correct.
Okay, so to that end, and I didn't bring this up earlier, somebody else brought this up on Real Anarchy. Remember that this current segment we're in, phases 4 through 6, is called the Multiverse Saga. So it is entirely possible and maybe even likely that your recast will occur, just not now. It will happen later, thanks to the Multiverse Saga.
It will come. It will be something that comes out of the multiverse. That when it happens, that's what everything is hinged on, is the Multiverse Saga.
Yeah, I think
so.
You see ways, as you see in the trailer, they throughout marketing as well, like that we see with leaks of marketing stuff. They probably aren't really marketing Black Panther. They're more probably marketing Wakanda Forever. So this is a story to continue the Wakanda story until the Multiverse Saga is done, and Secret Wars may introduce us to our new T'Challa, and then that's like, boom, that's the new T'Challa. So then,
but also remember, the Black Panther has been a mantle for thousands of years. Okay.
Yeah, that too.
So they could well introduce another person other than T'Challa in the mantle of the Black Panther.
Yes,
I would be okay with that if you're doing that as a natural progression of the story that you were telling. If that was what you were originally going to do, then I have no problem. But if you are disrupting your story for something that has nothing to do with the story, then that's where I have a problem with, okay, what do we do now? Because people are going to...
I honestly think they're not disrupting their story with it. What I honestly think is happening is I think T'Challa might actually die in the first Atlantean raid on Wakanda. I don't think it's just going to be.
My question was that the original plan?
It might have been. We don't.
One thing to also remember, though, William, is that Chadwick Boseman originally signed a 5-picture deal, and this movie would have been the last one. He would have needed a new deal after this.
And the thing about that is, though, is like, look, you have to change plans. Real life does intrude on story, regardless of how much you want it to or not.
It does.
Real life does intrude on story, and when an actor as influential as Chadwick Boseman dies, it's going to affect your story.
William, did you feel this?
Oh, go ahead, Ray.
Did you feel this way about The Dark Knight Rises? Because that wasn't the original plan there either. Heath Ledger died. He was going to be in the third film.
I wouldn't have had a problem doing it, but to a certain degree. But here's the thing. When you are talking about a character like this who they've had roll up all through these movies, and we're going to use in the future, this particular story for Wakanda Forever, this particular story, if anything other than him dying would have changed the trajectory, I'm okay. And even the Heath Ledger thing, you know what? A lot of it depends. I say stick with the original story, but the problem with the way the nature of the Joker character was much different. With T'Challa, if your original story was that T'Challa be there, then T'Challa needs to be there. All right.
Yeah, but no, Ray makes a good point though. The story was derailed in Dark Knight Rises because Joker was supposed to be, and this has been said since, Joker was supposed to be a big part of Dark Knight Rises. So that story was changed by Heath Ledger's death. Again, when you
And
have
know
a
what? In
recognizable
hindsight,
face,
they shouldn't have, because the Dark Knight Rises sucked. I mean, now I know it was missing.
Okay, but I guess I guess I don't know. Like, what is your concern?
The problem is this: people inevitably are going to die in occupations, and they're going to die in this storytelling is an occupation. Everything in the movie, every single thing from the gaffer, the cameraman, the caterer, everybody is an asset to tell a story. They are not the story. Chadwick Boseman's death is not the story of Black Panther. It's Chadwick Boseman's story. And that is, we honor that, and rest in peace. He was a great actor. I wish he were still here, but he's not.
Yeah, but William, you're asking people to let go of emotion, and emotion is what is driving this film.
That they're paid to do.
No. He's not talking about the cast and crew. He's talking about the audience, because the audience.
I'm talking about the audience. This is this is an emotional thing,
I mean,
and the audience wants this to be
right. No,
yeah.
I'm agreeing, because
that's where the big grown people have to make decisions.
But this is the decision he's making, because he remembers 4 years ago the cultural impact that movie. We saw that movie 3 or 4 times in the theater.
Yeah, that makes it worse.
No. It doesn't make it worse. No. Here's why it doesn't make it worse. Because when you think about the emotional impact of that movie, when you think about the emotional impact that he had on the audience, to ask the audience to emotionally divorce themselves from him, it may not seem quickly because it's been 2 years, but the reality of the situation is that, this happened. He died during the pandemic. It wasn't because of the pandemic, but it was during the first year of the pandemic. So so it was in a year where there were no Marvel movies. So the catch and the catch up for the Marvel audience started halfway through last year. Remember, 4 movies in 6 months, between Black Widow in July of 2021 all the way to No Way Home in December of 2021. So you were asking the audience, the Marvel audience, who is aware that he has passed, who had an emotional connection to him having passed, to divorce themselves emotionally from his presence the very next time Wakanda is mentioned in the franchise. That is too big of an ask. They would have, it's bad PR. They would have gotten flack for it. They absolutely.
But here's the thing, and the 2 reasons why I would have made a different decision. 2, I would have made I would have taken some time. I would have taken some time to let all that settle in, because that is relevant. But here's the thing: Chadwick Boseman, the work he did to bring that character to us ends for me without a T'Challa carrying that on. Without that story continuing, T'Challa, him as T'Challa, the important part was T'Challa. What their merger and them bringing that audience, especially as somebody of color, to have that kind of movie for us, the work has to continue.
And the work, but William, the work is continuing, especially for those of us that are people of color. Because remember what we were saying after that movie came out. We weren't saying T'Challa forever. We were saying Wakanda forever. So
the show must go on. The show must go on.
That's what I'm saying.
But the show is going on. The kingdom continues.
Yeah, and the other thing is that Chadwick was so prominent in that role that it's big shoes to fill in for both the crew and the cast and the audience. That the person.
Then you take some time. I agree. I can agree with you guys to a point, but then take some time.
Hold on.
Take the time you need.
Also a shift of a way of acting for this character. The character will be totally different from the way we last saw him in Endgame to now, and because you have 2 different actors playing, and then people will compare that actor to Chadwick for the longest time until that actor dies.
What's going to happen when people people that are in starring roles
still
in certain
compare
cases die?
Henry Cavill to Christopher Reeve.
The same thing is going to happen. We've seen that already, and you can't ignore the PR angle of this. That's where I think
but can't we take some time to let the wound heal?
How much time? How much time, William?
How much time? Because some people grieve for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, all their life. They are emotional because of
there would not. Okay, and I hate to interrupt you, Caden. Look, win or lose, okay, this was going to happen. People would not have been giving it time would have not fixed the wounds, William. there are so many people who are invested in the fact that Chadwick Boseman died in the middle of this, in the middle of this character, in the middle of this performance, in the middle of this portrayal of a character. There are so many people invested in that there was no way they could have gotten away with it. And if they had delayed it, it would have just pissed people off even further. I understand what you're saying, William. I do.
Yeah. I just think they should have made it. Listen, Kevin Feige, these people make tough decisions all the time. They have the credibility of the decisions they made. I think they would have been okay with going the other way. I think they would have survived it.
And hot take to all of the people who are saying recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa, recast T'Challa, that wouldn't have been the answer either. That wouldn't have been the answer either. Okay.
Well, and I want to the one you just brought up that said the kingdom is going on, but we needed T'Challa to represent it. I love to see a black male superhero. What about it? What about the black female superheroes? Are we just going to dismiss Okoye? Are we just going to dismiss Nakia? Are we just going to dismiss Remote? We're not sure. You know, we're not. We cannot dismiss. It's not just black males. It's black people.
Well, we have to remember
it's African culture.
Right.
African
we have
people.
to remember what Wakanda meant to everybody. All those.
And actually, Jalen makes a good point. Jalen makes a good point in the chat.
Yes, he does.
And I can say the same thing. And I'm going to take this back to the 90s. I can say the same thing for The Crow. When Brandon Lee died, that movie was made. Okay. The only reason that movie, and William and I have talked about this before on the Sci-Fi Center. If Brandon Lee hadn't have died, that movie would have been a footnote.
Straight to
okay. Mm-hmm. And this is the situation we're having right now. Chadwick died, and that is very sad. And he was a good actor and a good person from what I hear. A really good person from what I hear. But the thing is he died. And now it's become the martyr has become the situation. Is what we're going with here. The martyr has become the situation. When you martyr somebody that is that important, when somebody dies that is that important, then he gets turned into a martyr. He gets turned into a situation where you have to either do or don't. And either way is going to piss people off. This movie is going to be divisive. And I hate to say that. I hate to say that because I have to admit it. I don't have the same stake in this as people of color. Okay, because I'm a white man. All right. But I will say this, I teared up and I cried at that trailer because I know what Chadwick meant to people of color. And I know what that character means to people of color. And I love that movie. Personally, I love that movie. Black Panther was amazing.
And it's going to be an emotional movie for people of color. It is. Because especially anybody that, knows and pays attention to the real life circumstances of the story and understand. And that was my thing, going into this trailer, because I feel like we haven't really talked about the trailer at all, but going into the trailer, my biggest question was, what were they going to how were they going to proceed? What were they going to do to respond to that? And I got my answer. He passed in real life. He's passed on in the movie. Okay, now I want to see how they handle his passing. I mean, we do get some glimpses of it. We do see, and that mural on the wall kind of was reminiscent of when the one that they had to start on the wall.
This trailer? Can I play? I can play this trailer without getting.
Marvel's pretty good.
Marvel's good about not attacking. Marvel's good about not bringing it down.
Yeah, they played it earlier. Really, Anarchy. It was fine.
Yep. Let's go ahead and watch it real quick, and then we'll go. And then we'll.
I do have a question about that, and I will mention it while we're watching the trailer.
Okay.
The underwater birth scene, I think, is Namor's birth. I think that's Namor's birth.
Yeah, I agree. Probably that's Namor's birth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
Okay. I just wanted to get that straight in my head. That's what I was thinking, but.
Everybody hear anything?
No.
Yes. Yeah. Can you widescreen that, William? Small.
Yeah, hold on.
Don't shed no tear. No woman, no cry.
There we go. See, she's got the Black Panther markings there.
Yeah. But right, and that scene looked like a funeral march to me. That told me, oh, okay, this is where they're going with it.
In this great future, you can't.
I love her line later on, which she says about being queen. So this is Namor's birth then.
Right.
Yeah, you see the
Okay.
God, Namor looks so badass. I love the whales, all this stuff. It's great.
They're riding whales. That is amazing.
Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright.
I want to point out Riri here when she's hammering out later on. She makes a heart out of metal.
Yeah.
And her name being Ironheart.
Powerful nation in the world, and my entire family is gone. Have I not given everything?
I'm loving the Namor look too.
I like how they're keeping the Kendrick stuff as well.
I'm honestly being like super serious when I say this. Like in terms of like editing and like putting together something, that may be one of the best trailers they've ever made.
It's a gorgeous trailer. It is. It's and you know, I really liked, you know, going back to the first movie. I loved the first teaser for that with Run the Jewels. Like that was fantastically well done. Then
I think Tanaka Huerta is going to do really good as Namor.
Oh yeah.
This movie, regardless of, like I said, the fact that I don't agree with their decision making as far as recasting T'Challa, notwithstanding, I trust them with the rest of the story. I trust them with everything else.
It looks
I wish
phenomenal, like from a visual standpoint.
This is Academy Award level.
Oh,
I mean, the first one won 3. I mean, they were all in technical categories.
I'm not talking about the tech ones this time. I'm talking about this is the top 4.
We will see, because you gotta like comic book movies. Only a few have gotten into that rarefied air of above the line Oscars.
And yet, when he died, there was Oscars involved posthumously.
Well, because he died, like it was his performance, right? And there's something, you know, this may be a little unfair, but something about that role, because, you know, Joaquin, obviously, a few years ago, something about that role attracts the Academy. You know what I mean?
Because it causes somebody to bring out things in themselves that most actors cannot do.
You have to admit, every person, even back to Cesar Romero, every person who's played the Joker has been affected by the character played. Not in totally horrible ways. I'm not saying that Heath died. You know, a lot of people say Heath died because he played the Joker. No. But the Joker puts you in a certain
stuff going on.
But the Joker puts you in a certain mindset, and it's a very difficult character to play.
I mean,
even just
during filming that he was before, like when they're done with the during weekends and whatever, he'll be trapped in his hotel room, like just writing in his journal, like about like what he would.
Yeah, and they say that journal. The people who have seen that journal say it's disturbing. But beside the point, that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is that role takes it out of a person.
Oh,
it
does.
Have
to go to an insane place to play that role. That's why I'm really looking forward to, but worrying about Barry Keoghan when he goes there. You know?
You have to touch.
Right, but I feel like I think all of the actors that have done it, that have dared to do it, can handle it. Like I said, Ledger's had so many other things going on with him with respect to why he ended up the way that he did tragically. But I mean, when Nicholson, Phoenix, Leto, even I like Leto. I like Leto's version.
Even Cameron Monaghan, who did not play the Joker in name, but played the Joker in spirit in Gotham. He said that it was a difficult role.
I mean, just
and if you see his first acting of that character, like when he's being questioned by Gordon.
I just recently.
That flip is so disturbing. When he just looks up and he's got that smile, it's like, ooh.
So I say that to say that I feel like that is the type of role that attracts the Academy beyond the idea of, oh, he's in a comic book movie. I still think that unfortunately when it comes to comic book movies, and certainly when it comes to science fiction, there is a stigma with the Academy. So I will believe that this movie will get Academy nominations above the line when I see it. I will believe it when I see it.
I understand that completely.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, William, I wanted to ask you real quick. Outside of the Black Panther stuff, what really stood out to you the most about this panel, personally? Like, what actually made you look and go like, oh wow, that's pretty cool that they're doing this, or like what?
The only thing I gave a rat's ass about on the animation, because as you know, I have no use for animation. Sorry, guys. Sorry, that's just where I am. The Marvel Zombies thing, I thought that was very entertaining. The X-Men thing, I took a look at, and I was intrigued the fact that they used a 1986 version costume of Magneto when he was a headmaster, which got my attention there.
Well, I mean, like
I like that. I like that uniform, dude. I like that uniform. And again, you were right. It's so comic accurate.
I mean, more so like tonight, like the movies and TV shows, all that stuff.
Nothing really jumped off the page for me that I didn't know, but a lot of it I already knew was coming. All they did is really confirm everything that pretty much they have led up to. Like I said, they followed their plan, so there was nothing.
I mean, listen, Daredevil.
One thing that stood out. That's what stood out to me.
Go ahead, RJ, because I go ahead. I'll get to you right after they. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying Daredevil, like that announcement, like the big emphasis on Daredevil at this panel, plus 18 episodes.
That got me. That got
okay. Yeah, because
that's what I was saying. I was actually adding to what RJ was saying. That got me too. 18 episodes.
I don't want to hear a word from the 6 episodes is not enough crowd. I want all of them. I don't want to hear any. I don't want to hear any filler complaints, because I'm sorry, when you make that big of a jump, there's going to be filler. I'm sorry.
That's doubling the episode. I don't mind filler though. I'll take some filler because I'm going to get a good percentage of good shit. Dude, give me 18 episodes of Strange New Worlds. I'll take it, man.
Honestly, I think.
But Strange New Worlds is different than William. It's not serialized. This is going to be serialized.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I think. Well, I think the fact that they're using the Born Again storyline, the Frank Miller storyline, is really cool.
That's what I've heard. I've heard that was Daredevil season 3.
I mean,
it depends on how they do it. There's that they can do Born Again.
I think Born Again is also like a double meaning title, because it's also Daredevil Born Again at Marvel Studios. Like it's the reboot.
Yeah, there's a couple different things.
I also how about the fact that we're going to get him next month in She-Hulk?
Homecoming of Daredevil.
We're getting him next month. Yeah.
See, and that's my question is like because they gave you the faintest glimpse of everything but the cowl, like at the very end of the teaser. Which the one thing I will say about She-Hulk is the CGI looks a little better now. A little bit.
Yeah, and I love how she broke. Did you notice she broke the fourth wall?
Yeah,
she did the fourth wall break.
Like that.
Which is good because she was. A lot of people say that Deadpool was the fourth wall breaker, but for Marvel, she was.
Yeah,
yeah. It seems like the biggest inspirations on the She-Hulk show is actually the John Byrne comics and like some of the Dan Slott stuff from like the 2000s.
Which is good because those were the good runs.
But has there ever been an incarnation of Daredevil suit that had like gold in it or like bronze?
Yes,
that's what it looked
yellow.
Well, the trailer made it look a little weird. There's some high res images out there. It's actually like very bright yellow. It's yellow and red.
Oh, like his original suit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're gonna do, and then I think the next suit after, even it's rumored that the next suit's black, but I think they're gonna continue yellow and red until Born Again.
Well, because I will tell you that what interests me most about the newcomers to the MCU, right? All the stuff that they acquired from Fox and now from Marvel, Netflix, and like what they're bringing into is the costuming. I am, like for me, I look, if we're talking about stuff that interested us, like what grabbed our attention on this Marvel panel, the only thing that would have like shot my attention up to the rafters is if they had said anything about the X-Men, anything, because I am a massive fan of Fox X-Men. There's only 2 of those movies I don't like. There
And on that, Ray, I hate to interrupt you. On that, Ray, there are 8 more things that they're debuting at D23, and I think they're saving the X-Men for D23.
Well,
sure. Well, because there's a massive gap in Phase 6. When they got to the Phase 6 schedule, it's like, there's only like 2 or 3 things there.
Dates there, like
right.
That aren't
so, but my thing is like as much as I love Fox X-Men, like the only 2 that I don't like in that franchise are X-Men: The Last Stand and X-Men: Origins Wolverine. Yes, I like Apocalypse. Yes, I like Dark Phoenix.
Wow.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I'll be honest, man.
Ray, I'm going to sit here and say I agree with you completely. I like them both. They have their merits.
Absolutely. Yes,
just so we're all on the same page here, I am one of the very few people who actually dislikes a majority of Fox X-Men. Actually, the ones I like, okay, don't crucify me or shoot me. The ones I like First Class, Days of Future Past, Logan, The Wolverine, Deadpool 1 and 2. That's about it.
And that's actually what you just said right there, RJ. That's my listing too. Different order, but my listing as well.
Yeah.
My very first.
Because I'm one of the rare people out there who actually thinks that the first 2 Bryan Singer X-Men movies have not aged well, and I think actually never really captured a lot of the great aspects of the characters that I wish that they.
Well, there's also a lot of holes.
Hold on, the first one gets Magneto's situation.
No. The opening's amazing. I'm talking about everything else surrounding that.
For 22 years, it doesn't have to age well necessarily. I still think X-Men, this is going to be my personal opinion, that the 2000 version of X-Men is the most important comic book movie.
Oh, no. I acknowledge its importance. I'm just saying this as an X-Men fan myself. I've never loved those movies. And
okay, so let me say what my opinion is on those movies. Okay, so the first 3 X-Men movies, they're kind of in a bubble for me. Okay, I appreciate them for what they did. Okay, but for me, the Fox X-Men stuff didn't get really good, until First Class came out.
Yep. Mm-hmm. No,
and that's because being an X-Men fan since the late 70s, because I've been reading comics that long, that spoke X-Men to me more than those first 3 movies did.
I have found myself torn on the castings because on the one hand, I think Patrick Stewart is the best Professor X, but I think Michael Fassbender is the best Magneto, with no disrespect intended to Sir Ian McKellen. I've never agreed with Halle Berry being cast as Storm. I really don't like her. I thought the better casting that should have happened, but now can't happen at all, was Angela Bassett. Angela Bassett was the perfect Storm, without 100%. Question. But
I will say this: the girl that played her in the later X-Men movies,
Alexandra Shipp, yes,
yeah, she did okay.
Well, I wish she did given her more to do. I wish they would have given her more to do, but I understand she only had 2 films. But yes, she did do okay.
Yeah.
But here's my thing: is for all that I enjoy out of Fox X-Men, the one thing that they never got right, that they were never consistent with, was costuming. The best that they did was the costumes that they had at the end of X-Men Apocalypse in the Danger Room. And that was great. It was awesome. It was amazing. And then they scrapped it and put them back in stupid blue jumpsuits at the beginning of Dark Phoenix.
Major turnoff.
And so now for me, I'm like, okay, Feige, okay, MCU, how are you going to have them look? And I want something that is close to what they had at the end of Apocalypse. That's what I want, especially Cyclops. If you look at how they had Ty Sheridan at the end of Apocalypse, absolutely perfect. I mean, and you can make the colors. You can make the colors pop if you want. Fine, make it brighter, whatever. But I need something that stands out.
Considering the obsession
routine again.
Considering the obsession and kind of the brand synergy that I expect from Disney, and the emphasis on the 90s era and X-Men 97, I'm expecting something that looks like that, but very much modernized.
Okay,
please tell me.
Perfect.
Please don't be
perfect.
True. I'm not.
I want uniqueness. I don't want.
I want uniqueness. I don't want X-Men 97 uniqueness.
No. I'm not saying it's gonna be a carbon copy. I'm saying kind of some of those design elements, but modernized to fit 2026 or whatever they're gonna come out with, right?
I would almost bet with the differences in the Avengers uniforms and how colorful they were, with the exception of Black Widow, but she's always got black costuming.
Right.
with the differences in those costumes, I'm almost betting that any X-Men team will probably be quite colorful.
I'm counting on that.
I want to mention too, real quick, about the slate you have pulled up here. The Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is really intriguing. It's going to be mostly in the quantum realm. They're going to introduce MODOK. And I love MODOK. So
Yeah,
I'm
Bill
excited
Murray.
to see that.
Bill
Bill
Murray.
Murray. And Bill Murray too.
As
So
possibly as MODOK.
no, actually, no, he's not MODOK. No, he's he plays the leader of the Quantum
Krylov,
City,
which is the king of Quantum Realm City. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so he's going to be the king. Okay.
Another one I am interested in right there.
The what? Say that again.
Secret Invasion is another one that's probably my most anticipated one.
Well, did you see the way they talked about Secret Invasion? Kevin Feige said we have the ability now to where we can kind of shift around in tones. They're saying that he compared Secret Invasion to Winter Soldier, saying this is going to be a very dark political show. It's going to be very political, very spy and espionage focused.
No, I'm fine with that because Winter Soldier is still the franchise's best film, in my opinion, subjectively speaking. But the most intriguing thing to me about this Phase 5 schedule is it's half and half. You got 12 projects on that list, half theatrical, half Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I don't know how many people are necessarily like catching that, but like you look through, I mean, there's so much here in this schedule. This is over span of 2 years. This is the entirety of Phase 5, but you got half shows. You know, obviously your films are, you know, so Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians, Blade, Captain America: New World Order, finally getting that third Cap film, and the Marvels and Thunderbolts, right? But then
I wanted to point out really quick, Ray, not to interrupt you. At the end of this year, we're getting 2 holiday specials.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting the Werewolf by Night thing at Halloween, and we're getting the Guardians thing at Christmas.
Yeah. That seems like Disney Plus Day announcements, which I'm kind of surprised they didn't mention that at all at say Phase 4, because technically Phase 4 ends with those.
I think going forward that if those 2 are successful, which I think they're going to be, they might do that. They might do that further on for the next couple of years.
Probably wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. Well, because the other thing to remember
is like a
hold on, I'm frozen.
Everything okay? Or I don't know.
I know. Do you freeze?
Yeah, I'm frozen. I got to get back in.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you in a minute. He'll drop out and come back in. It's all right.
Oh, okay. No, I think that, you know, the like, even when I talk about the 50-50 of the schedule, like the important thing to remember is now that you have a streaming component actively involved in this franchise, that is where you must remain as consistent as possible with your content.
Right. Also remember, even though it looks split, there's still 2 animated projects next year that aren't shown here. You have What If Season 2, and you have Marvel Zombies.
And X-Men 97.
And X-Men 97, so that's 3.
No, Marvel Zombies is actually 2024.
Oh, yeah. So you have 2.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 next year.
Okay.
4 live action every year.
But yeah, you're balancing. You're balancing and also kind of merging 2 audiences. You've got the traditional audience, obviously, that'll go to the theater and see all the big films, but you've also got your Disney Plus audience, and you must maintain consistency with that. And so that's why, I mean, this list to many people looks like, holy shit, this is daunting. You know, like over the span. I mean, look at this. This is a lot. This is a lot.
This is a lot in a 2-year span. Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. And
which is interesting now because like the phases are now getting a little shorter. Have you noticed that too? Where it's like Phase 4 was 2021 to the end of 2022.
You know, the funny thing about that is it seems shorter. However, remember that the bulk of the first half of Phase 4 was in the back end of last year because of the pandemic. Like that's the weird thing. 4 movies in 6 months, which is why the marketing. It's part of why the marketing for No Way Home was janky because they were in a log jam.
Yeah,
right.
Can I say something here that's kind of a hot take?
Especially Thor 2 as well.
A lot of people look at that slate as being daunting. I do not.
No.
I welcome what they're sending us. And that's simply because, look, I'm not saying I'm a content consumer, as people would label me, but I like that they're keeping it in the especially with these shows being like 10 episodes. I mean, I could see it like 6 to 10 episodes. I could see it if it was a 24 episode load or a 22 episode load, only having a couple of a year. But with the fact that these are 6 to 10 episodes a lot of the time, we end up every couple of months having gaps. You know what I'm saying?
We'll see. That's the weird thing, though, Fade, is like you kind of don't. And the reason is because they do the weekly release model. And it's even like it's the true weekly release model. Like even like, when HBO Max and Amazon do weekly release, what they do is they drop the first 3 on the first day, and then they go to weekly for the rest of their 6 to 8 episodes, right? In Marvel's case, and also in Lucasfilm's case, they do true weekly, where it is 1 per week. So what you're really talking about
Except for
is
Kenobi.
a month and a. It's a. Well, Kenobi, and the reason that Kenobi was an exception was literally because of the whole May 25th thing. They did, and also some crossover with. What was airing at that? Yeah, right. Exactly. So there are times where they've got to worry about the overlap of what they're doing with other shows. The same will happen, because it's not like Star Wars. Lucasfilm is continuing with all their stuff, so they've got to do the balancing act. But what you're talking about is with each of these shows, at least 5 to 6 weeks of these shows. If you're doing a 6-episode run, if you do longer, like Daredevil Born Again, now you're talking 18 weeks. Unless they change the model, right? So it's not as much of a gap necessarily, because what's going to happen is you're going to have. We're kind of seeing it now. Like remind me, it was Moon Knight leading into Multiverse of Madness, and then it's Ms. Marvel rolling into Thor: Love and Thunder. Like there's not a whole lot of gap in between them, and I'm not.
Well,
When I say daunting, I don't mean like it's scary. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. It's consistent. there are no breaks.
Okay, so like for me, okay. For instance, I watched Strange New Worlds this year. I watched Kenobi this year. I didn't catch Miss Marvel, but I'm going to.
Okay, see, I'm very much in the same boat. Yes.
Exactly. So with the way that shows run, especially on multiple streaming services, there's this. Okay, so like right now, for instance, I'm in a dry gap. Okay, because I just saw Stranger Things.
Right.
We just finished Strange New Worlds. Now the next thing I'm waiting for is She-Hulk. So for the next couple of weeks, I've got this gap.
Right.
To catch up.
Right. And in the middle of that gap, we have had a
movie.
Right, it's been what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Have we reached 3 weekends for Thor: Love and Thunder yet, or is this the third weekend we're coming up?
This is the third weekend coming up on. We're coming up on the third.
Right. So, and I know it's summer, and I know people are on vacations and all that kind of stuff. Kids are out of school, but this is the time for people to watch the movie, and then in a couple of weeks' time, get into another show. You know what I mean? And then that takes you through September, like back end of August into September, through most of September, and then you'll be ready for Wakanda Forever at the beginning of November, right?
What I've got coming next is I've got I don't know what the next Star Trek property is coming out.
Lower Decks.
Okay.
Lower Decks season
so we've got Lower Decks in October. So where I'm at right now is I'm waiting for She-Hulk, but I'm also waiting for Andor, which comes out later in the month.
Yes, it does. And that's going to be and that's where decisions like we've had to make already are going to have. And this is where we're going to see some schedule juggling.
Because now you have She-Hulk and Andor airing the same days like I have Miss Marvel and Kenobi.
And Andor is longer. Andor, I think, is 12 episodes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So
that thing is,
right.
Andor is having a 2-episode premiere.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Well,
yes, I believe so.
She-Hulk's only having a 1-episode premiere. So.
Well,
right.
She-Hulk's having one. Yeah.
That's
so
okay.
and like She-Hulk is a week before Andor, correct? Right? Like
I think it's 2 weeks before. I think it's 2 weeks.
Or 2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks before because Andor is the end of the month.
End of the month.
All right.
Andor's on the 31st. So
okay.
So basically, it would have acted like as if like
Well, I wanted to mention too the thing that I think that because what I thought when we were going into this panel, I thought to myself going into this Marvel thing and also going into kind of like D23, I'm like, okay, I have enjoyed Phase 4, but I acknowledge that it has not been perfect. I've also acknowledged that there's a lot of people who feel like it's been very much directionless in the fact that people want to know, okay, what am I investing my time and money into? They want to know, okay, what are we doing?
It's directionless. It's directionless to a point where people aren't seeing said direction.
Well,
okay.
I agree. But to finish my point, what I'm saying is that what I liked about this is that when you're looking at Phase 5, it feels like when you look at that slate, it feels more purposeful. What I mean by that is, Echo's leading into Daredevil Born Again. You know that there's a Thunderbolts team-up movie leading in, which is kind of like the precursor of what's been built up. And now you know that all of this is leading to 2 Avengers movies to culminate this saga, right? So what I like about that, and what I find very interesting, is that before, each phase was marked by the end. Each phase was ended by an Avengers movie. Now the saga is going to be concluded by an Avengers movie, which I found that change to be interesting. I think I like that because now you're giving like a 6-year gap in between Avengers movies, right? Where it's like, okay, we're not going to do Avengers until we're ready for it, right? So I think that was such a big important thing for them to do tonight was to let people know that, like, we understand you wanted a roadmap. Here's your roadmap, and like we're letting you know, yes, there is something this is all building towards. Here's the name of the saga. Here's what we're doing.
So I do agree with you on that, RJ. I do agree that from a marketing standpoint, and I think they heard that, right? And they've been hearing that for a while.
Yeah, and Feige even said before Thor: Love and Thunder, it's like, yes, we understand people want the roadmap. Don't worry, it's coming.
That being said, Phase 4 is my second favorite phase in the franchise. My favorite being my favorite being Phase 1.
That is fascinating because you are one of the very rare exceptions, because I've heard a lot of people say this is one of their least favorite.
Yeah,
I have actually enjoyed Phase 4 myself.
Yeah,
and a big reason I would say is because I like when this franchise gets bold. And I feel like a lot of times in phases 2 and 3, they were not as bold as they could have been. That's not to say
that's when they got formulaic. That's when they got formulaic. That's where they got the careful stance.
Exactly. And that's not to say that they weren't bold at times. Infinity War was bold. Winter Soldier was bold, right? Like it's not to say they weren't bold at all in the middle phases. But obviously all of Phase 1 was 100% bold because it was the beginning.
I agree with that. Phase 4 was a lot more experimental because they had to try new things because they were at a point. Because I think Feige said tonight, like Phase 4 was us resetting the building blocks. Like it's like going back to basics, trying to be like, okay, we need to set up all these new pieces for us to play with.
And I feel like him saying that was also part of the PR for the people complaining that it was a directionless phase, because he's basically giving themselves a mulligan and saying, "Hey, listen, this was just the reset phase. Don't read too much into it." Right.
Well, also at the start of the sagas, you're going to have that disjointed first phase. Okay, and that's what fourth phase was. It's disjointed for a purpose. So what I'm saying is, like, people who think it's disjointed, it's not. And it's what I was trying to say earlier.
Well,
there's a purpose. There's a purpose with what they're doing. And like you said, Ray, they're being bold. And I like that. I like that we're getting these longer stories involved in the shows. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Caden, what were you going to say?
That Kevin Feige explained this today as well, that that Phase 4 was all about introducing characters, introducing new characters, while Phase 5 and 6 are going to have real thematic purposes. While also Phase 4 has a thematic purpose of introducing, and then 5 and 6 are about executing those stories that are introduced in the
that makes sense. I like that explanation too. It's like Phase 4, you introduce your playing cards. Phases 5 and 6, you use the playing deck that you accumulated.
And I'll be completely honest with you. Like one of the things that I've talked about over the years, with the fact that this franchise is 14 years plus old, through the first 3 phases, the homework problem most certainly exists, and you guys know what the homework problem is. It's just when you have somebody that comes to you and says, "I've never seen a Marvel movie in my life. Where do I start?" And you'll know where you can give them an idea of where to start, but that's when you start playing the game of what do they need to watch, what is not as important for them to watch, and that is something that you deal with through the first 3 phases. And I like the lack of pressure in phase 4 where I can pick and I've watched all of it. I've watched all of phase 4 because I'm a completionist. However, if I get to phase 4, I don't feel like, oh well, this is Thor: Love and Thunder is important, or Shang-Chi is about, like, it may become important down the road. We may have the homework problem again once we get into phase 5 and all the stuff starts coming together. But I've enjoyed the freedom as at this point of phase 4 right now, where I know
it's a little more relaxing. Yeah.
I think with the multiverse saga, it's going to be easier than it was with the Infinity Saga. With the Infinity Saga, if you missed a piece, you had to backtrack, like you said, the homework problem. But with the multiverse saga, it's more easily to pick and choose. Now, again, later down the line, you're going to run into the same problem, because it's going to have to be, as you're getting towards the end of the saga, you're going to have to keep. You're going to have to keep.
But I do agree with Ray and both you think that I feel like with this phase, it was okay if you cherry picked what to watch and what you didn't watch. Like, it was okay if you jumped between piece to piece. It didn't really matter as much because everything was standalone enough while also setting things up for the fuure.
Right.
So,
Sorry about that.
Which was probably purposeful.
Welcome back, old man.
Hey, what's up, William? But actually, one of my biggest things from this panel that I loved, I am so excited for Guardians 3. I think the Guardians 1 and 2 are phenomenal films. I love both of them. Hot take here. I'm one of the very few people. I think I may prefer Guardians 2 over Guardians 1. I love both movies. I think Guardians 2 has a much better villain, which I think helps the movie a lot. I really like Ego.
Kurt Russell?
Yeah, I love Kurt Russell, yes.
I will agree that Guardians 2 has a stronger villain. I disagree in that it's a stronger film. I hope 3 is closer to the first one.
Well,
I like
3,
the first one as a film. I really enjoyed.
I noticed when they were talking about Hall H, like James Gunn said, this is the end of this Guardians team. This is the end of the story I set up all the way back in 2014. It's gonna have some thematic resonance to this. And the thing is, too, when they play that trailer, people were crying. They're like, "Oh my god!" Like this, like really, like it felt like it was actually the end.
I think we might lose a couple of the Guardians by the end of this movie.
Well,
and
James
that's
Gunn said though, like ending, like he said, death is not like the only way to end a story, is what he said though. So he's
true, but I do believe to keep the tenseness that they're going to have to kill a couple of the Guardians, and I mean we pretty much gotten that from Dave Bautista that most likely Drax is on the way out.
Yeah,
I think
a bunch of times, so.
I'm thinking that they may actually kill off Rocket, which is going to hurt a lot of people.
Yeah,
that'd be a big one.
Well, I think James Gunn said this movie, especially, this movie's really all about Rocket and Gamora.
Yeah,
and Peter Quill. So it's about Peter Quill and Gamora's relationship, but also Rocket Raccoon. So,
well, I think the payoff to this movie, especially with you making Rocket important, especially after Rocket and him talking, especially with Rocket talking about in previous stuff, how with him it's about family, with him it's about losing people. I think that
Vin Diesel's Groot.
Yeah, there you go.
But what I'm trying to say is the point behind what I'm trying to say about Rocket is Rocket talked about in I want to say it was Infinity War. No, Endgame. It was Endgame when he was talking about you're not the only person who's lost people.
Oh, when he was talking to
Rhodey, right, yeah,
or not Rhodey,
and
Tony. He was talking to Tony.
Tony,
yeah, and it's there's been some foreshadowing, at least in my mind, that I've seen that Rocket is not going to make it out of this movie.
Well, James Gunn has talked a lot, like even a couple of years ago, he was talking about like he's had Rocket's backstory planned out for a while. What do you want to do with it?
Got hints of it in Volume 1 and 2. Because
it's been like this, like hinting of like the longest time.
When he's like when Quill is looking at him and he has all like those like metal things in his back, and then like and and then Rocket just starts yelling at Quill. It's like, I wasn't made this way, like I'm not supposed to be.
Well, I think James Gunn today said, like, imagine I always imagined a talking raccoon would probably be like the saddest creature in the universe.
Oh,
so let's actually explain that.
And then in volume 2, Yondu and him have this relationship. He's like, Yondu's like, I'm you, you are me. Like, no one accepted us ever until we found our family.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why I'm pointing towards this. We're probably going. They're going to pull those heartstrings. We're probably going to lose Rocket, especially since it involves a high evolutionary.
Yes,
I am so excited for the high evolutionary. By the way, I'm so excited for that villain because I think it's going to suck.
Herbert Wyndham.
Yeah, that actor's phenomenal.
The guy from Peacemaker.
Yeah, he's great.
Isn't just involved with Rocket. He's maybe involved with other characters. That's what I think he assisted Thanos on evolutionizing Nebula and altering her.
A lot of people don't realize, but when it comes to like comics, and I'm sure William will agree with me, the High Evolutionary was more than just a villain. He was something else.
He was a connecting piece. Him and Wondergore, the Knights of Wondergore, all that was part of a connecting piece. Even Scarlet Witch, he has a connection to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
He has a connection to a lot of things.
Yeah,
but
it's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. This is my longest string ever solo on this channel. So
we barely even scratched the surface.
Yeah, I know.
The Marvel panel is just its own stream, honestly.
It's honestly
so it's a Star Trek one. So it's a Star Trek one. That's why I didn't hit on a lot of Star Trek one. I'm going to do a Star Trek one just based on that. But that stream will go on forever, and you're all welcome back. But I'm going to go get a fat burger that probably weighs as much as Dave Pena. And thank you, Ray, for coming on. This is the first time I've ever been on the same screen with you, and it was fun to have you.
Hey, Ray,
thank you.
I'd like to pick your brain about X-Men sometime.
I will tell you that the extent of my knowledge is the movies. I haven't read a ton of the comics. So I can talk a ton about the films for sure.
Well, that's
part.
I
you could pick about X-Men. Wow, I wonder if you've met him already.
William, we've talked about the X-Men, and we should expand. Where's our Age of Apocalypse thing we were going to do?
We'll get around to that. Well, glad I got the Brave Runner one done. We got a lot of stuff to go on. But those shows take time and research because I don't want to put anything in half-ass and have people in the chat saying, you don't have your information straight. I'm like, screw you. So thanks, RJ. Thanks, Caden. What are you doing up this late? And that's about it. Thanks for everybody in the chat. Thanks for the super chats that came in. And hopefully I didn't miss anybody's super chat or question. But that's it. The first of hopefully many all-nighters. I like doing all-nighter or somewhat all-nighter, especially if you're on the East Coast. It's really all-nighter. But I'm still on the Pacific Coast, so it's heading into 1 o'clock here, and I'm still in my store. So I'm going to grab something to eat. And like I said, these conversations just started today. I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about all these things to at least D23 and what needs to be a DC fandom. It better be a DC fandom. They need to change their mind on that. But until then, thanks for everybody showing up.